betrayed WCW.
What in the is he doing here? Monday Night Raw, Monday Nitro.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Brett. The new world order, brother. Let's get this. We are at war.
I got to tell you something about this Nitro.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, you're telling me. First, Vinny, give us the date of this Nitro.
I think I wrote it down wrong because this is January. This the same day as Raw, so it would be February 7th of the year 2000.
All right. Wow, exactly. It says February 7th as well, since we're doing this on a Thursday. So, I don't know why I've never noticed this before, but I go to the network, and I go to load it up, and it says Nitro 229.
Okay.
We've watched 229
Yes.
Nitros.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
There's 52 a year.
I was ready to kill myself when I saw that. 200 and I've watched 229 Nitros twice.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
And you wrote several books about them.
Oh.
Or the same book over and over, but yeah.
That was almost too much for me. That was almost... Forget the Russo ones we watched. When I saw that I've watched 229 Nitros 2 times, I was like,
And there's
what's happening? And it's going to snow.
There's still like 60 to go.
Jesus fucking Christ. Oh.
And it was this one then when you realized that.
This was so bad. Okay, let me tell you something. Those Russo shows were like hideous. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Horrible. Okay?
I do.
But like he left, and then Sullivan and the crew came in, and like everybody talks about how boring they are. And like to me, you know, they're definitely more boring than Russo shows, but that's not a bad thing to me.
No.
Like, yeah, they could be more exciting, they could have bigger stars, they could have better wrestling, but they're not bad. They're just kind of there.
They're boring.
Okay.
I will take these boring shows
Fine.
over the horrible Russo shows.
Then I saw this show.
I see.
Okay? Is he back? What in the name of fuck was this show? This show was so bad. Am I wrong? Don't even tell me it was just boring. It was painfully bad.
It was definitely illogical. That's for sure.
I think the biggest thing for me is, as an audio guy who works in audiovisual,
Oh,
and
it was
DJs,
horrible.
All of the audio problems that were coming on, it was just a nightmare.
This was... And Danny Hodge is watching this show.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Anyway.
So a recap of Thunder. Jeff Jarrett booked Sid in 3 matches.
Can you imagine?
I'm going to watch Sid Vicious
I'm
wrestle
not
3
ever
times.
watching Thunder again. We're not going to go through the Thunders.
So he apparently beat Mike Rotunda, he beat Rick Steiner, and then beat the Harris twins. And somewhere in there, apparently somebody hit Rick Steiner with a bat. That's what I got out of this. So
I will put them over. At least they recap something.
That's true. They did tell us what happened, kind of. It was better than last week's recap.
So the audio problems are here from the get-go. Jarrett is giving the NWO speech, but he's drowned out by music.
Yes.
I can't hear a goddamn thing he's saying.
So I believe that they were playing 3 counts music in the ring, but it was bleeding over into backstage, and so they can't use 3 count song, and so they had to dub in another bizarre random song over a horribly produced segment in the first place.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear anything anybody said.
The only thing I got out of this is that Kevin Nash is not there again.
Yes.
So now we go to the ring. We're 3 counts in the ring.
And they're still playing a dubbed song.
They're still playing a dubbed song, but they have... See, this was intentional audio problems. Because the gimmick is 3 counts dancing was being sabotaged.
Yes.
By Norman Smiley from the truck.
Yes.
So the music is skipping and going back and forth. I can only imagine what the network crew had to do. How can we screw up this music to match the music they screwed up then? Eventually, Evan announces there is a date with 3 count contest. Not a date with Evan or Shane or Shannon. A date with 3 count.
Yes.
So, like, all I can think of is this is overthinking something.
This was an unmitigated disaster.
You have a perfectly fine boy band segment. These guys will come out, dance to their shitty song, everyone will boo. That's fine. That works. That's like Nikolai saying the Russian anthem. You don't have to mess with it. It will get heat every time. But they had to mess with it here, and it's make it convoluted and confusing. It goes forever. Finally, we get Norman Smiley and Evan Courageous, and the match goes 90 seconds. And Norman fights off interference, reverses the roll-up to win, and then they show Danny Hodge in the crowd.
Danny Hodge is cheering, hey!
Okay. Then Norman,
Yeah.
who I believe now has beaten all three of them in individual matches.
Yes.
Now he wants to fight all three of them at once.
Yes. He says it's wiggle time. He goes into the aisle, and he begins to wiggle in front of Doug Dillinger, who almost smiles. And it suddenly occurred to me that I have never seen Doug Dillinger smile.
Okay.
I'm the only one that cares. And Kayla changed her outfit.
Jay Biggs tells police officers that Booker is in possession of illegal contraband, tells the cops to search his bags. They find whatever he was looking for. And then,
A tea.
I guess. And Booker says he has Biggs says he has plans for Booker's music. The NWO walks. A limousine arrives. It's Flair with some women's.
Yeah.
Oh, the NWO promo.
Oh, my God.
Where to begin with this?
Let's start with Scott Steiner comes out dressed like Dennis Rodman. He's wearing this purple outfit.
A purple fur cowboy hat.
A monstrosity.
I think it was purple paisley shirt.
Yep. Because, you see, he's the original Purple Wang.
Well, actually, he called himself, everyone, the Purple Warrior.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he is supposed to be a giant, jacked-up penis.
Yes.
So, by the way, Shane, I don't know how long you've been following along, but about a year and a half ago, Scott Steiner started this gimmick. He was Hollywood. Wasn't it Hollywood Scott
For
Steiner?
like a week, yeah.
Yeah. He was atrocious.
There was White Lightning Scott Steiner.
He's just Scott Rex Steiner.
Yeah.
Just a college athlete.
Just a large, muscular man with a terrible haircut.
They turned him into this Hollywood guy. He was so nervous. He was so wretched. It was just the worst. And I guess he just started to watch his Superstar Billy Graham tapes. And now he's the fucking best.
Yes.
Now he does do one of the dumbest but most awesome promos I've ever heard. He comes out and he starts to unleash on Ric Flair. Says, Rick, you should have skipped the limo ride and taken a cab and used that money to fix your crooked yellow teeth.
Yeah.
WCW should have hired the original Nature Boy, Buddy Rogers. But he's dead. Just like your career is dead, Rick. And Buddy's still styling and profiling 6 feet under. Flair, you stole his name, but you couldn't steal his class. I know. He says he knows he wasn't alone. When Flair came out last week, himself and everyone else switched to WWE to see Stone Cold.
That's what he said.
A guy who Flair and all of his friends got fired from here because Flair is a jealous old bastard. Says Flair, in this business, there has never been a bigger ass-kissing, butt-sucking bastard. He's trying to say this, by the way. I can't do justice how badly he screwed up. Jealous, butt-sucking bastard. He mutilated it. He finally spits it out and says, Flair, you deserve to be in WCW because WCW sucks, and so do you. And then he adds, I'll stay here in the NWO for life. He fucking buried WCW.
Yeah.
6 feet under. He buried Ric Flair.
For no reason, by the way.
No! I don't even know why he's mad at Ric Flair. Why is he mad at Rick?
I think Scott Recksteiner is mad at Richard Fleer for not retiring.
Rick is supposed to be a heel.
Yeah, so Scott.
The NWO are heels.
Yeah.
There's no feud here that I'm aware of. Like, it was bizarre. But it was amazing.
Yes. The best part to me is watching Jeff Jarrett and Scott Hall and the Harris twins in the background all look at each other because I don't think any of them knew this was coming. But they're all kind of looking at him like, well, you go interrupt him. I'm not interrupting him.
Nobody was interrupting this guy.
We'll just let him go.
There was also a great moment before he started talking where Mark Mann goes, they were in Tulsa. And Mann goes, you know what you get when you spell Tulsa backwards? There's a long pause, and Tony says, no, I don't. They moved on. The answer, everyone, is a slut.
Oh, Brian.
Yeah. That's what you get when you spell it backwards.
So eventually, Jarrett lets Steiner speak his mind.
He sure did.
And then just gets back to work. He moves on with business. He announces Mark Johnson will be the referee for his match with Sid.
Slick Johnson. He hasn't been a heel ref in 2 years. But now he's a heel ref again.
That would also be a no DQ match. And then for tonight, he books Sid Vicious against Scott Hall.
Oh, can you imagine?
Scott Hall's very upset by this. He fakes a limp to say he's hurt. And even better, he uses hand gestures to indicate Sid is tall and big.
Yeah. He does not care.
Keep in mind, Scott Hall's
trying to get fired.
Scott Hall's 6'5" and 300 pounds himself.
Yes.
So he's also tall and big. But yeah. Booker. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. So this segment, you were right. That promo was awesome, but I literally wrote, it's a weird as fuck promo. Like,
yeah.
I didn't know what was going on. And then I will put one thing over for it, and actually it's this whole show. They're building the pay-per-view. It's 13 days away, and they did a bunch of little things building up the matches on it, like graphics, which is something I remember reading in your book was not something they always did.
No. When Russo was in charge, they never built... I mean, they really never built to pay-per-views. It was all about getting ratings, and this crew is at least trying to build up pay-per-view matches to make some money.
Yep. And then my favorite line is at the end. Jarrett says, Scott Hall will be all up in Sid's ass. And I was just like, we need to work on phrasing, guys. That was...
Yeah. Booker and Midnight walk backstage. Booker declares, they'll take my colors, they'll take my music.
His colors?
Apparently he can't use flames anymore.
Oh, huh.
They'll never take my dignity.
Plus his dignity is signed with Harlem Heat Incorporated.
Dignity, yeah.
Yeah.
Gene interviews David Flair, who has an I Quit match tonight against Terry Funk.
This was actually not a bad promo. He's got a match with Terry Funk later, an I Quit match. Of course, Flair and Funk had a famous one in 1989.
Ric Flair, yes.
Yes, and David says, tonight, I'll fight one of my father's battles for him. I watched this and I thought, you know what? This fucking guy could have been something. But they fucked it up. Like, look at Charlotte. Yeah. She never even wanted to be a wrestler.
No.
She decided she wanted to be a wrestler because Reed died. Mm-hmm. Like, if David wanted to be a wrestler, and he would have had the opportunities that they have nowadays. I'm not talking about when they bought his contract and sent him to developmental. I mean, he could have been something. But such is life. Mm-hmm. Now he's just a crazy guy on this show.
My favorite part of this segment was when David leaves, and so Crowbar and Daphne do like a huddle. And they break the huddle with a chant of outside interference. 1, 2, 3. I laughed. So Booker, they took his Harlem Heat music away. I think the actual music they gave him at the time was more like Leave It to Beaver. Here they edited in some wacky polka music. It's Booker versus The Wall.
Can you explain to me why The Wall is getting a push?
No.
Wall.
He's big. I can't. You know what? I can. He's big, and Hulk Hogan is coming back and needs a big guy to fight.
That's true.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that.
So, in 3 minutes, Booker hits the axe kick. He hits the spinneroonie. He hits the bookend. The place is going nuts like this is a major star. And he's been Booker T for a long time, but he's not gotten a reaction like this. And then J Biggs distracts him, and The Wall hits a chokeslam and pins him.
The Wall pinned Booker T.
Yes. So at this point, Biggs orders the cops to arrest Booker for a number of charges related to the beating last week, including attempted murder.
Attempted murder.
I mean, assault.
Isn't that everything on this show?
Assault for sure.
Yeah, I don't know about attempted murder.
He definitely assaulted J Biggs. That's no doubt about that.
Very, very excessive. And then Tony Schiavone actually says, nobody has ever been arrested on Nitro before. What?
I don't know. Brian Knobb screams at Jarrett. I don't want to go into the whole rigmarole we did last week, but he's mad at him. So he says again...
Well, allow me, Vinny.
Okay.
Last week, Brian Knobbs wanted a match with Finley. And Jarrett said, you want to be in the same ring with Finley? Fine, it's on. and ended up being Finley was the referee, and Knobs faced somebody else and got beat up. Lex Luger, right?
Yeah.
So this week, Jarrett says, if you'd paid me more, you would have wrestled Finley. And then he goes, do you want to be in the same ring with Finley tonight? The same fucking question that he asked the guy last week.
Yep.
That got him into this mess.
Yep.
And this fucking moron Knobs goes, yeah!
Yep.
And the same thing happened again.
Yes.
He can't be a babyface. He's
No.
too dumb.
Are you kidding? No.
Well, it's WCW, so
That's
anything's
fair.
possible,
That's fair.
but...
Yeah, they didn't even tease it for later. He walks out of the room, they all laugh at him for being stupid, and they
Yep.
say Bam Bam Bigelow will be his opponent.
Yep.
And Phil will be the ref. Terry Funk questions Arn's loyalty,
Yep.
and Arn says, well, we'll see how you handle yourself in this match against David Flair tonight.
Funk tells him a man's got to do what a man's got to do.
Lenny and Lodi say they're going to challenge the Mamalukes. They had lines in here saying, we need a tag team Nizame.
God.
And afterwards, we'll go chase rats.
Yeah.
Tank Abbott versus the Barbarian.
Who has long hair now.
And, like, clothes.
It was weird.
Yes.
He looked like... I don't know what he looked like. He didn't look like a barbarian.
No. They had a sloppy brawl. The ref tried to get between them to separate them, and this gave Tank a chance to hit a big punch and knock Barbarian out and win via KO.
Mm-hmm.
As he is leaving, Big Al tries to confront Tank. The Tank blows him off.
This fucking feud. Tank and Big Al.
It's like Tank says, hey, I've got a friend I wanted to do an angle with.
Yeah, that's what happened.
And they asked no more questions.
No.
They just said, cool.
What's his name? Big Al. Bring him in.
I don't even ask that. I think they just said, okay, Tank. Okay,
Sure.
Mr. Abbott. Crowbar finds the demon's casket.
I wrote crypt.
He rocks out in front of the casket, and then
Yeah.
Daphne screams, and he goes back to see what's going on. The kid cam is back,
Tori's in the women's locker room filming all the chicks naked, apparently.
I guess.
That's exactly what happened.
Well, that's not what happened. What they talked about?
No, Tori goes, put that thing away. He goes, not when there's so many naked women around. And she goes, ha 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 ha. She kisses him. It's like, this is weird.
It is weird.
This is bizarre.
An Oklahoma promo.
Okay.
Dude, when this guy came out, I thought, am I watching the wrong show? Why is Oklahoma out here? For a wretched, Russo-rific segment.
Yes, it was.
This was horrible.
So, last we saw Oklahoma, he was breaking bottles over women's head and pouring barbecue sauce on them and winning the Cruiserweight Championship. for them.
Yes, correct.
Now he announces he is GM of the WCW Women's Division.
Yes.
The first thing he says as general manager of the women's division is that women have no place in wrestling, but it's adorable they keep trying. What the fuck, dude?
Dude, it gets worse. He goes, all of the women will need intense physical examinations, and I will be present for all of them.
Yes.
Can you imagine that line in 2019?
No. So he brings out a man he claims is Dr. Haywood Jeter to discuss this medical testing.
Haywood Jeter.
Yeah. He says this is Medusa's plastic surgeon. And Dr. Jeter announces, or he answers the questions, but he says he has worked on Medusa's nose, eyes, lips, chest, and ass.
Has her chest been augmented? Has her ass been augmented? The doctor says yes. I'm not sure that's legal. Seems to be like a HIPAA violation.
He even noted.
They
that
even
there's-
said that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a doctor-patient privilege or whatever.
Yeah.
So, Medusa comes out.
Her chest has, in fact, been augmented.
There's no question.
Holy
I
Jesus.
can confirm an augmented chest.
Yes. She slaps and kicks the doctor. The only good thing in this entire segment, after she lays the doctor out, she looks at Oklahoma and shouts, "And you, asshole!" And she kicks him in the head.
Then she stomped his nuts.
She kicked him in the balls.
This show is wretched.
What a terrible segment I wrote.
It was horrible.
The worst part was Medusa was getting out of the ring after this terrible segment, and some guy in the first row reaches over and literally grabs her chest, and she like almost murdered him. Oh,
Should've.
It was terrible. Yeah. Ugh.
Flair and his harem are watching themselves on TV backstage. Gene says the executive board has been in a meeting, and Terry Taylor is coming with big news.
They've been in a meeting for hours.
Terry Funk walks. Flair and Crowbar walk. Taylor has his big announcement.
Yeah, this is what they spent hours talking about. He says, so Jeff Jarrett's been making matches, and the executive board, we can't change the matches he has signed. But we can change the stipulations. What?
I don't know.
He says, Slick Johnson no longer the referee. Sid versus Hall tonight is now a title match. So the storyline is, Jeff Jarrett wants to win the WCW title. So if Hall wins tonight, he will not have the opportunity to win the WCW title from Sid. They even have Jarrett backstage explaining this. And Scott Hall saying, I'm just going to soften him up for you. So keep all of that in mind, please.
So Jarrett is outraged about this announcement that Scott Hall will get a title shot tonight. Have a video package of the Flair Funk I Quit match from 1989.
That was better than David Flair versus Terry Funk, I can confirm.
I will say about this the talking segment here, Mark Madden has a lot of one-liners. Some of them are funny. Some of them are going to piss me off. He has tremendous delivery.
Yeah.
His voice is fantastic. So we get Terry Funk versus David Flair in an I Quit match. And the whole match is Funk is beating David's ass and wanting Rick to come out instead.
Well, first he cuts a promo on Rick and he says, come down here and face me in an I Quit match. You're a 14-time champion. You should be proud of that. But it means you've had your ass beat 14 times. Come on down here. I'll kick your ass for the 15th time. So he turns around and David has a chair. David Flair gives him 5 unprotected chair shots to the head of this 54-year-old man bending the chair.
Check. That happened, yeah.
Funk then beats the shit out of him.
No.
Pile drives him on the mat. Pile drives him on the floor. Says, you better come out here, Flair, while your kid's damn well alive. Do you quit, you little bastard? David says, I ain't quitting. Never knew he was so tough.
Yeah. So they recreate the pile driver through the table spot that Funk did with David's dad.
Yep.
Still won't quit. And after all of this beating, let's review. Pile driver on the mats outside,
Yep.
Pile driver on the cement outside, pile driver through the table outside. Now Funk's just going to do like an elbow through a table.
Yeah.
And he gives Ric Flair one more chance to come out.
He's still upset that Flair told him that he lives on a chicken ranch.
Yes.
I don't need any goddamn chickens like you, he says.
Yes.
And he goes, I don't need to beat on this kid anymore. I'll quit now, but I'm not going to quit when I get my hands on you, Ric Flair, later. So he quit.
Yeah.
So David Flair won an I Quit match against Terry Funk.
Yes.
This show is atrocious.
So Mike Tenay is looking on at this in disapproval.
You don't say.
Arn tells him to get a camera crew ready. They go to break. When they come back, Arn says, that was a beating David didn't have to take. I almost agree with Scott Steiner.
Where was his father?
Ric Flair's dancing around with 3 broads when he should have been that kid's dad. And Funk, you went out and did that. Flair let it happen. I'm bowing out of this whole thing. I feel like stepping out of the human race. This made him sick to his stomach. He doesn't want any part of it.
Man.
Well, they're sure getting me to cheer for these guys, aren't they?
Hey, I don't think they know who's supposed to be over right now.
Disco Inferno versus Stevie Ray.
I wrote Stevie Richards. I was baffled. Thank you for correcting my notes.
Disco was shredded tonight, by the way.
Yeah, Stevie
Was
pedigreed him in one. That's it.
There's a slapjack and stuff, but yeah, the Tiger Driver 91. Really, this one was.
Yes.
Sometimes it's his pedigree. There's a little lift first, but still drops him in pedigree. This one, he pretty much dropped Disco right in his head.
So let me recap the next segment. Scott Hall's with Jeff Jarrett, okay? Jeff Jarrett is upset that the title is on the line tonight. Scott Hall says, listen, even if I win, the belt stays in the family. Jeff is not happy with this. So Scott Hall says, don't worry about it. I'm just going to soften Sid up for you. Clear?
Yes.
Clear.
Thank you.
I do want to add, Jarrett pulls Hall aside and asks, do you know why they're giving you this title shot? And Hall says, yeah, I've been owed a title shot since I won that World War III thing in 1997.
He's not wrong.
No.
That's the best part.
I missed that.
2.5 years later.
He's not wrong.
I like that he termed it that World War III thing.
That's what it fucking was.
It absolutely was. Gene interviews Sid. Sid says, everyone treats the NWO like a six-headed monster. Tonight, Scott Hall faces final extinction and total oblivion. Fighting words.
This is the first Sid interview I've ever seen, and I want to watch all of them.
This is the first Sid interview you've ever seen?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Go back like 5 months.
Oh.
It's incredible what you've missed.
Find the one he did in the Alamo Dome.
There's one in the Alamo Dome that's great.
Yes.
And there's a lot of others that are not great, but that's why they're great.
Even his bad ones are great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Flair leaves the women. Why did he even come to this building?
What?
He brought 3 women to the building. They watched themselves on a monitor. He left.
Well, maybe he had a plan, but then that whole David thing happened.
I suppose. He tells Arn, you're in way over your head.
And then he adds, I had something special for Arn tonight. One of the women.
I see.
He can't believe that Arn is mad at him when he had a woman for him. It's a nature boy. He's off to party.
Yeah. Bam Bam Bigelow versus Brian Knobbs with Finley as ref.
Just shit.
Here's everything I wrote down. Finley gives Knobbs a trash can, but then hits him with a chair and fast counts him.
I wrote, what is the point of this story? Knobbs wrestling with a broken arm. This is awful. Goofy hardcore match. Finley hits Knobbs with a chair, puts Bigelow on top for the pin. Earlier, he'd helped Knobbs. Bigelow, new champion. This sucks. I'm over it.
Yeah.
Shane, your thoughts?
I miss anything?
No, I wrote basically the exact same thing. Fucking sucked. The one thing I did right, I was so angry. Tony Schiavone had a line after Bigelow hit Knobbs' arm with the crutch, and he used the phrase aluminum crutch, and I'm like, dude, can you just sell this is a metal crutch or
like
something?
Like steel?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was
Platinum.
just awful.
He's done that before, if I recall correctly. There was an aluminum ladder or something.
Yeah, it was just...
Yeah, he said something about the ladder's made of aluminum. I'm like, no, it's made of metal. It's made of titanium. It's hard.
The Mama Luke's brawl with Lenny and Lodi.
Yippee.
Kidman and Tori are messing around with the camera backstage.
Okay, so as much as I hate this show, okay, there are some things that I like about the show, and one of them is this. We had the fucking Kiss Demon against Kidman, okay? A guy dressed up as Kiss wrestling Billy Kidman. They go out there, they have a match, it's whatever, and then Kidman wins with a top rope Frankensteiner, which is better than the shooting star for this guy. So when the match is over, Crowbar runs down and he attacks Kidman. Great! He's a Kiss fan.
Yes, they established
This was established earlier in the show.
and last week.
That Crowbar loves Kiss.
Yes.
Kidman beat the Kiss Demon. Now Crowbar's mad. Great. That made me happy. Match was whatever.
Sense.
It did make sense. That's all I asked for.
So the most shocking thing on either show this week, they actually played God of Thunder for the Demon.
Yeah.
How Gene Simmons let this pass, I'll never know. So, among the matches, they are billing for Super Brawl. They are. You mentioned this earlier, and it's true. They are advertising matches on the show to get you to buy them.
And what a match.
Demon versus a mystery opponent.
Yes.
Where's my cable bill? I gotta call this fucker right now. Okay, Sid smiles and laughs backstage.
Awesome.
Lex has a chair with Hulkster's name on it. Scott Hall assures the NWO it's all under control. Somewhere in here, Total Package versus Hulk Hogan is officially announced for Super Brawl.
Yep.
Lex Luger promo.
Lex comes out for the promo. They actually showed a replay of Hulk Hogan giving Liz the most ridiculous atomic drop in the history of wrestling. They showed a replay of this.
So
That was too much for me.
So Lex has been a comedy act for months, and now they decided he's supposed to be a badass. So he's insisting he's no comedy act. Since Hulk's not here, let's talk to Hulk's best friend, Jimmy Hart. Jimmy comes out, says Lex is a Hulk Hogan wannabe. He will never sell out arenas like Hulk Hogan. He will never sell merchandise like Hulk Hogan. And Lex says the difference between me and Hulk Hogan is I have a vicious streak. And he lays Jimmy out. He Pillmanizes his arm, breaks his arm, just like he did to Brian Knobbs last week. He'll see Hulk Hogan at Super Brawl.
See, this was one of those things where it wasn't bad. It's like he's feuding with Hogan. Jimmy Hart is Hogan's friend. And he broke his arm. And that's that. But the problem is, Luger has no credibility because he's been a comedy geek. Hogan hasn't even been around. And, like, nobody cared about Jimmy. He's out there dressed as a production guy.
Yeah.
It was like, on paper, it's a good idea. It's a good idea. It's like it makes sense, but it just did not work here.
Scott Hall walks. Sid Vicious walks and also screams his own name.
Yeah. It's like a yes chant.
Sid. By himself.
Yeah.
So we get Sid Vicious versus Scott Hall.
They got 4 minutes.
It took them... 3 of those minutes came after the ref bump.
Yes.
There's a ref bump. Hall calls out Jarrett. It's 2-on-1 now. And then Jarrett just starts to leave. The match isn't over. The title's still on the line. He just goes to walk away. Scott Hall, and I was stunned. I noticed Scott Hall is a big guy, but he's in fact smaller than Sid. He got Sid up for the Razor's Edge.
Sure did, yeah.
That was mighty. I'm stunned. Jarrett is even more stunned because he thinks he's going to lose his title shot now. He runs down.
So you understand.
I do understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Hall hits the edge. Mm-hmm. He goes for the cover. Jarrett is infuriated.
Yeah.
He doesn't want Hall to win his title.
Nope.
He runs down there and he hits him with a guitar. And he puts Sid on top and Sid retains the title. None of the announcers can figure out why he did this. I was so angry. This was explained in like 3 different segments. These fucking announcers can't figure out why Jeff Jarrett hit Scott Hall with a guitar. I don't know why that made me so mad. It's like,
I don't either.
For once, there's something in WCW that actually makes sense, and the announcers have to act like it doesn't make sense, even though it does. And they explained it 3 times on this show. That was a horrible show.
I was mad because the NWO just got together like 3 weeks ago after like 6 months of tease and build.
Yeah.
And it's a month later. Brett's gone. Nash is apparently gone. Jarrett is now fighting with Hall. What's the point?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Shane, any final thoughts before I get into these finishes?
Was this your first ever Nitro, Shane?
It was.
Oh, my God.
I know. They're not all this bad. Some are much worse.
You jumped in the deep end. Yeah, this was not the worst Nitro we've ever seen, but it was very, very bad.
Oh, God. The one thing, you basically captured all of my feelings. The one thing I will say is, Brian, you complain all the time about Shane McMahon's punches.
Yes.
I think Sid's are worse. Because
They're up there.
And the only reason I say this is because when Sid got up on that middle rope and started punching Hall, they were so slow and you could like see that they weren't connecting. At least when Shane does it, he's like using high velocity, so like you could be like, maybe it's the speed that's hurting them.
Well, it's a different kind of bad punch.
Shane's are worse, but Sid's are funnier.
Well, how can I describe this? Sid doesn't look like he's doing any damage. It looks fake.
Right.
It's like a guy throwing fake punches, okay? Shane also looks like a guy throwing fake punches, but Shane looks like a guy who knows how to punch throwing fake punches.
Okay, that's fair.
Sid looks like a guy who doesn't know how to punch, pretending like he's punching. And the big difference is, if I had to choose which guy was going to punch me, I'd choose Sid, because Sid will not touch me. Shane will throw terrible punches and hurt me.
That is a fair.
That's a good point. The other big difference is Sid will throw a horrible punch, and it will be horrible, but the guy will know it's a horrible punch and he will sell it.
Yes.
And then Sid will throw another horrible punch. Shane will throw a punch that the other wrestler can't even identify as a strike or if it landed, so he doesn't sell it.
Yes.
So Sid,
and then he gets hit really hard.
When Sid's throwing punches, it's bad pro wrestling. When Shane's throwing punches, it's one guy shadowboxing the other guy not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're both terrible.
They're both awful.
Don't get me wrong.
Do not
Sid
punch like either man.
Has horrifically, hilariously bad punches.
Yes.
Part of his charm.
Kind of.
It's just funny when you see a guy that big and you think that he's a striker. You know what I mean?
Oh,
he's not a grappler. He's a striker.
I never thought about Sid's fighting style.
But he can't. You know what I'm saying? He's an amazing guy.
He is amazing.
You know, Shane, he's in the Hall of Awesome.
He is. I love that episode. Oh, he's so great.
He's the best.
I need to watch more of him.
He's the best. Vinny, are you ready for your report?
Brian, I'm always ready. The finishes on this show were pin despite interference, pin after distraction, ref stoppage due to KO, I quit match ends when the guy who was winning quit, pin after a tease of a weapon shot, pin after interference and fast count by a crooked ref, clean pin, and then pin after a guitar shot by a guy's pal.
There you go. That is the finishes report. Yes? Yes, Rob.
You forgot to add a fuck finish in there somewhere.
They're all fuck finishes at the end of the day. But that brings us to Nitro.
Actually, that was the finish to the Mark Henry segment.
It was. That was a true fuck finish. You're right, Lance. God damn. I knew I had you here for a reason.
That was the Craig segment for tonight.
Yes, except he wouldn't have said it like that. I guess he would have. He could have said that. I said the fuck finish. He just had to say that was the end. All right, Nitro. A horrible show. Starts out with 1 million recaps from the past week.
What was with that? They did a full recap segment, then they did the show open, and then they did another almost exactly but different recap segment.
You know, here's the thing. Here's the problem with this business, everybody. I bitch about things, and then when I'm given what I think I want, I realize I'm bitching about everything. And I don't even mean to. Like, you can't do a show without recaps, okay? But they recapped everything 2 times. And in recapping it, I still have no idea what's going on. Here's what happened. We missed one show, Thunder. We didn't even miss a Nitro, okay? On this one Thunder, and if you've been listening to all of these retro shows, you're going to be baffled by what you're hearing right now. On the one Thunder that we missed, we had matches to determine title matches. We had Dustin Rhodes returning. We had Dustin Rhodes challenging Ric Flair, who is not facing Dustin Rhodes. He's facing Terry Funk. We had the return of Hulk Hogan. We have Hulk Hogan setting up a match with Luger. We have Luger beating up Terry Funk. This show was mind-blowing. It was like I missed a year.
Yeah, it was nuts. But we got the 2 recap segments, and then we had Jeff Jarrett come out and explain it all to us again.
Yes. Jarrett comes down with multiple large-breasted women and 2 men who used to play penises. One blonde is Major Guns. I have no idea who the other one was.
Pamela Polshock.
Oh, was it?
Yep.
Yeah, she was very beautiful. Harris Brothers and Jarrett cut a promo at the pay-per-view. Jarrett's ranting about how he lost his special referee, how Scott Hall got a title shot, but he prevented that. Kevin Nash tried to knock him out of the number 1 contender spot. Apparently Hall and Nash are just baby faces again. Clearly we missed that on Thunder in the recap. And he says the countdown is on to him winning the title at Super Brawl. Then they cut to Nash, who has not been on TV forever. He is there with 2 large-breasted nurses. These are brunettes. Jarrett calls him slap ass. Says, here's what we're going to do. Nash is trying to stop him, and so Jarrett threatens to break Dave Penzer's neck if they don't cut Nash's feet off. Nash does not care about Dave Penzer's neck, but the truck does. They cut him off. Jarrett claims that means he's now the acting commissioner. I'm not making any of this up. Nash then comes out in his wheelchair. They tell us he broke his foot 2 weeks ago. What? Nash threatens to shove his baseball bat up Jarrett's ass. He says nobody won the Hall versus Jarrett match. They're both number 1 contenders. It'll be a 3-way dance at the pay-per-view. Sid versus Hall versus Jarrett. Jarrett says, I don't care. I'm walking out champion at Super Brawl. And then Nash signs Sid versus Jarrett tonight in a non-title match.
Yep.
A lot happened there.
Is Russo back?
He's not.
Because this had a lot of Russo-esqueness to it. Like, every segment's got the large-breasted women in them. And there's a lot of walking backstage that doesn't need to. I think I counted once. I was DMing with Craig. And there's somewhere between 16 and 17 women eye candy just standing there to be pretty people in this show.
They're desperately trying to get ratings.
And they did mention on commentary that the new Nitro girls are back, but they must have just been in the commercial segments because we didn't actually see any Nitro girl dancing.
So then we had something weird. Tony Schiavone starts plugging the show. I like that. Tell us what's on the show tonight. He runs down all the matches. Then he says, tonight is Valentine's Day, and we'll have something very special for all the gentlemen out there. Flair, Luger, and Liz arrive. 3-count practice.
Did you notice that Flair and Liz were like wearing winter jackets because they're in New York in February, and Luger's got a sleeveless t-shirt on?
Because he's the man.
He's jacked.
Norman talks to Lenny and Lodi backstage. Lenny's on the phone talking to rats. Lodi wants to go to the club. So we have 3-count. Oh, first we had Miss Hancock walking.
Yeah, we had the 3-count practicing first, though.
Yes, I had that. Probably missed it in the 45 segments I ran down there.
Yeah, and we're 22 minutes in, and we're just getting to the first match. So the first half hour of Nitro, and we're just getting to the ring.
3-count versus Norman Smiley and Lenny Lane.
He's just Lane now, though. They've lost their first names.
Yes. So Tony had been plugging all the matches on the show earlier. We get the first match. He has no idea what's going on. He admits that. I don't know what's going on here, he says.
Neither did anyone in the match.
So they're having this match, and Miss Hancock gets up on the table. She hikes up her skirt. Don't even think about it, Rob. Takes off her glasses. She starts dancing.
She lets her hair down.
Yes.
Because she's not squaring up. She's dancing.
So she's dancing. Tony turns, he looks right at the camera to his wife at home and says, I'm not watching.
Yeah, because she's standing almost right over him.
He's fucked one way or the other, dude. Everyone's distracted. Norman taps out Evan with a choke. This was hilarious, okay? The referee is distracted by Miss Hancock. And so Norman has Evan in a choke. Evan is furiously tapping. He is nearly killed because the referee's not paying attention because he's watching Miss Hancock. So
you were way too nice with this match. They opened up with like a series of 5 dives, and like half of them weren't caught. Lane.
I didn't even talk about the match, but go ahead.
Yeah, Lane tries to do a flip dive to the floor and just doesn't make his target and bumps on the floor and damn near kills himself. Shannon misses a acai moonsault off the top rope and crashes into the floor. It's like 10 seconds into the match, there's like 5 dives, half of them botch. And then they just go about having their match. And Miss Hancock is dancing for quite a while before anybody notices. It's like they had a couple spots to do, so they kept wrestling. And she's dancing, and she's dancing. They're just having spots. And then eventually they notice. And this was just bad.
They had her music playing. You know what I mean?
They had spots to do.
Dude. Then they come backstage, and all I know is Ming is there, and he's watching TV, and he starts screaming, "And I'm not! And I'm not!" Apparently he's upset that they're calling Tank Abbott a legitimate tough guy. Ming is upset. I believe he's saying, "And I'm not." Okay?
Okay.
Who the fuck was he talking to? It appeared to be the Barbarian who cut off all of his hair and bleached it blonde. Was I wrong? Who was that?
I don't remember. This was one of the... I must have hit the 30-second ahead because I didn't see it the second time, but I'm remembering it. Actually, like it might have been like Al Green or somebody.
Maybe it was. But anyway, this led to nothing.
No.
Didn't they already have a match in Tank 1 or something?
I think so.
I don't remember. Who cares? Tank Abbott faced Rick Fuller, one-punch knockout.
Just awful.
I mean, it was quick.
Still, it was no good.
So they go to Tenay, and he's interviewing Tank Abbott. I thought this was awesome. He says, "Tell us about your memories of the UFC, Tank." Tank goes, "I was the only true fighter. I'd fight anybody, anytime. My only goal was to put my opponents in the hospital. I don't care if I won or lost. When the fight was over, my opponent was in the hospital, I was at the bar." Which actually was true most of the time.
It was most of his pro wrestling matches, too.
Talks about how he can bench 625. He spent years boxing. Today asked him about Big Al. Tank says, "Yeah, Big Al used to watch my back. Now he has problems with me being in WCW. He wants to be in a skins match with me," he says. Today goes, "What's a skins match?" And Tank points to his leather jacket and he goes, "It's my skin. I once said I'd give him the skin off my back. Now he's turned on me. We're going to take care of business at Super Brawl." Tank goes, "What's the skins match consist of?" Fucking Tank Abbott goes, "It's a jacket on a pole match."
You sure Russo's not
Are you
back?
kidding me? Now, I love the interview. And it was funny because, like, in 1999, the idea of Tank Abbott as champion was preposterous. Death of WCW material. 2019, he'd have been fine. You know what I mean? He wasn't a great worker, but, like, he was a fine promo. He was a tough guy. He'd go in there and punch out people in a minute. I mean, fuck, they had worse champions than him in the last decade. I can tell you that much.
They had worse champions than him then.
Hell yeah. Well, Jarrett's about to get it. Although at least Jarrett could throw I think, a good punch. He's not your favorite puncher.
I was talking David Arquette and the others.
Oh, well, yeah.
Russo.
Yeah. Jarrett's on the phone saying it better be a title match tonight. Prince Iakea shows up with Paisley.
He's the artist.
Paisley!
Yes.
Booker's future wife, by the way. They weren't married yet. So, Iakea cuts this fucking horrible promo. Even though Paisley is actually, like my Paisley, I might add, a much better promo than Prince Iakea. I don't know why he was doing all the talking. So we have, I swear to God, Kidman and Vampiro versus Prince Iakea, the artist formerly known as Prince Iakea, and La Parka.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing that I miss about WCW. They'd put anybody in the ring together.
It didn't matter.
No! Someone in the back looked at everyone in the locker room and thought, Kidman, you and Vamp are going to face the Prince and La Parka. Ha! Work it out, guys. So they have this match.
Oh, just rotten.
It was fucking horrible, but I loved it. And Paisley and Tori get into a brawl.
For no reason.
Yep. And then Iakea hits a diving DDT on Kidman and gets the pin. The Prince pinned Kidman.
You're missing the angle.
There's an angle.
When the women were fighting for no reason, Kidman jumped down to break them up, and Vamp reached for a tag and he wasn't there. And then he fought for like 2 more seconds and then bumped them both, and then he went over and Kidman was on the apron now, so he tagged Kidman all pissed off, and Vamp walked out because he was mad that Kidman wasn't there for the tag when he wanted him. And it was because Vamp walked out that Kidman got pinned. This match was setting up a Kidman-Vamp match.
Fucking A. All I know is, in the year 2000, I thought I must marry this Tori Wilson. And now here I am in 2019 watching her fight Paisley. Fucking weirdest thing. Terry Funk's getting taped up.
Whoa. Okay, maybe I missed that too. Okay, I thought you skipped the wedding.
No, are you kidding me? Nash is on the phone. He says, fine, if he wants to be a title match, it's a title match. Let them kill each other. Mama Luke's, they say, Disco, we want to go home. Want to go see Mom. We're in New York. Disco says, look, I arranged something for you. It's a wedding party with their family. Grandma.
Vito's sister was getting married and Vito didn't know.
It's news to him.
Yeah, because Italians don't do big things at weddings.
No. Well, he's, the idea is he probably hasn't talked to the family in a while. He's probably on the run. Know what I'm saying? He's gone underground. Anyway, it's a very thoughtful thing for Disco to do.
To book his sister's wedding in the backstage of an arena?
Hey,
in a tent?
Maybe she wanted that. So Mona faces... Okay, so first off, Mona's in a gown. Why is she wrestling in a fucking gown?
She takes the gown off.
Kind of.
She's got like a cheerleader outfit afterwards.
Sort of. She's facing Rhonda Monster Ripper Singh, spelled S-I-N-G. No H.
They didn't add the H. Apparently she's not of Indian descent anymore.
Oklahoma interrupts. He says Medusa is a special guest referee. She's barely paying attention. Ron and Medusa get in an argument. Mona goes for the sunset flip. Oklahoma grabs the arms. Medusa kicks the hands. Singh hits Medusa in the middle of the spot. Sits on Mona after she got her hands kicked out. Oklahoma counts to pin. Singh kisses Oklahoma. Singh has Jericho's old music. This was bullshit.
This was.
Did I miss anything?
Yes. Mark Madden with the greatest line of the show. When Monster Ripper is in the ring, Mark Madden says, "With all this talk about standards and practices, if she doesn't have any standards, I sure could use the practice."
Wow.
I'm like, that's tremendous.
Wow. He had a couple of good lines on this show. More with the Mamalukes. I had no idea what was going on. I'm glad you told me it was a wedding party. I was just fucking baffled.
This is just, like, Vito just won't stop talking.
No.
It's like, it's a group shot, but he has to keep the camera and the focus
Yes.
on him. And he's hitting every stereotypical Italian thing. He's got to slip the minister some extra money. He's got to give his sister-in-law extra cash and just hide. And it's just like, oh my God.
Terry Funk walks. Luger and Liz walk. Gene is there with Ric Flair. They randomly announce right here in the middle of the fucking show, Ric Flair will face Hulk Hogan tonight. Okay. We haven't seen Hogan in months. Right?
Yeah. As far as I can remember. He's been mentioned the last week or two, but it'd be the first time we've seen him.
Guess we have to watch Thunder.
We're like 57 minutes in, not counting commercials, and this may have been the first decent thing on the show.
Luger versus Funk. So Luger's out there posing, and he wants Liz to rip off his pants, but Funk gets in the ring, he rips off Luger's pants, and then punches him. I like that.
He tried to wedgie him by ripping his sweats off.
Funk is 54, he's still more mobile than Luger was, and Funk was not mobile. Finish has him going for a moonsault he was supposed to miss, but he hits it. Liz gives Luger a chair. That's a DQ. Her handing him a chair is a DQ. Luger starts hitting Funk in the head, unprotected chair shots. Keep in mind, Funk and Bret hitting each other with shit in the head led to Bret's permanent retirement from professional wrestling 1 month ago. And they're doing this.
And the funny thing is, the rest of the match, they worked absurdly light and didn't touch each other.
I know. I don't know what's going on. Arn then confiscates the chair. Gene alerts us. Breaking news. Jeff Jarrett versus Sid will be for the title tonight, but not the heavyweight title. Jarrett's United States title. So this is what happens on paper, everybody. They'll tell you what happened in real life. Gene is supposed to make this announcement, and as he makes the announcement, the reaction of Kevin Nash and Sid, we're supposed to see, like, it happens at that moment, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Okay. So in real time, as soon as Gene makes this announcement, both these people react to it, okay? But it's a television show, and they don't use a split screen, which they should have done. Instead, Gene makes the announcement. They cut backstage to Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash pauses. Then he reacts. He goes, ha ha ha! And the women put cream down his throat, whipped cream. Then they cut to Sid. Keep in mind, the announcement was made 15, 20 seconds ago. Sid's watching TV. And he watches TV for about 5 seconds, and then he goes, ha ha! He's so happy. Are they on a delay?
This was so bad, I didn't realize that that's what they were supposed to be reacting to.
Yes, they were reacting.
I figure out what the hell they were doing.
They were laughing about something that happened 15 seconds ago.
Where was the split screen from the World War III pay-per-view?
We needed it. Daphne caught the bouquet. I think that actually leads to something, so we'll see. Mark Madden. Oh, so they do the thing. She catches the bouquet. Like, all hell breaks loose. The cake ends up everywhere. Meanwhile, the Mamalukes music is just playing in a loop on the background. Something else happened. What else happened here? I don't even remember.
I don't know. In my notes, I just said more wedding shit.
Okay, well, something happened. Something bad happened. So cake's everywhere. They go back to Mark Madden. Mark Madden says, I cannot imagine a cake got destroyed on a wrestling show. And Tony Schiavone Meltzer deadpan says, yes, you can. Stevie Ray and... Oh, my God. Stevie Ray and Big T versus Tony Mamaluke... the Mamalukes, actually.
Yes.
Versus David Flair and Crowbar.
With Disco on commentary.
Our main man, Vito, wrestles with his fucking championship belt around his waist. This match is horrific.
Oh, it's so bad.
Daphne is incessantly screaming outside, making it even worse. David hits Stevie with a crowbar, and Vito gets the pin. Disco on commentary is shocked that his men have retained the titles. They won, he said. He gets in the ring, and Disco Inferno is still with us, everybody. I don't know how.
Because Big T damn near killed
Fucking
dudes.
Stevie Ray. Guys, have you ever seen Stevie Ray? I'm sure he's a really nice guy.
Actually, he's a funny son of a bitch. He's
A
great.
funny son of a bitch. A bad wrestler. So they've decided, you know what we're going to give him for a finish? A fucking elevated pedigree.
Didn't he legit end Rick Martel's career
Yes,
with this?
he killed Rick Martel with this move. He's still doing it. So he lifts Disco Inferno up for an inverted pedigree. Inverted is not even the right word. It's like an angel wings. Okay? As he's going to do it, Big T grabs Disco's legs and fucking pedigrees him onto his head. I was sure he was dead.
And if you people don't remember, Big T is like super fat Ahmed Johnson, who
Yes.
wasn't all that safe when he was in shape.
No, he was horrible. He hurt everybody. He never apologized. I actually went on Twitter to make sure that Disco was still alive. I can confirm that he is. Then they grabbed one of the Mamalukes. I presume it had to be Johnny the Bull, because no way Big Vito was going anywhere near this fucking one.
No, they did both of them.
Did they? All I know is Big T goes to give the Pearl River plunge to one of them and fucking falls on him.
He landed underneath them. Half. Oh.
One he fell on, one he went underneath.
Yeah, because he did the one guy where he looked like he lost his balance, collapsed, and landed underneath him a little bit. And then when he hooked the other dude, Stevie Ray decided he would try to help so the other guy didn't die as badly.
I'm not trying to make a joke here, okay, everybody? I'm just telling you the truth, all right? You guys know how Draws got paralyzed? D'Lo went for a running sit-out powerbomb, and he slipped on the canvas, and they both fell down, and that was the end of Draws, okay? This fucking thing that Big T was doing to people, like, they're lucky. Like, that stuffed inverted pedigree that it did not look like Disco knew that stuffed part was coming. And then the Pearl River plunge, which is a sit-out powerbomb, which he fucked up on and fell forward and landed on the guy as they were landing. Like, why was this guy allowed in the ring?
Yeah, I don't know. It was bad.
That was brutal. Canyon's with two girls.
Got to have more girls. And what was the title belt he had? Did he have a replica belt? It looked like a hybrid between the old AWA belt and the big gold belt. I'm like, what the hell Canyon doesn't have a title?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer to it. I want to know how much all these women were paid for tonight. Probably more than you made when you were there.
Actually, I got paid well in WCW.
Dude, they had 50 women on the show.
I got paid well in WCW.
Dustin Rhodes gets buried. And the Mamalukes are... Oh, yes, fuck. So the Mamalukes got killed, and they stretchered him off, okay?
And Vito's got to no-sell it.
They get backstage, and Vito just hops off the stretcher and says, we got to take care of business. Like, Disco and Johnny, even Johnny the Bull, who's greener than grass, even he's selling. Not Vito. He's 100%.
Did we need 10 Italian segments on this show?
No, we did not. Bam Bam Bigelow versus The Wall in a hardcore match. I believe it was our show last week where I said, why is The Wall getting a push? And I don't know who it was, but somebody said, Hogan's coming back. They must be building up an opponent for Hulk Hogan. I thought, goddamn. I do remember when The Wall was on top of that building 3 miles away, and Hogan said, it's The Wall, brother! So I thought maybe they're right. Well, Wall comes out here, handicap match, they go 2 minutes, Bam Bam Bigelow beats him clean.
Yep.
Why were they pushing The Wall and then they just beat him? Then Brian Knobbs runs down. He has a cast on his broken arm. He beats the shit out of Bam Bam Bigelow. And then The Wall chokeslams Bigelow to get his heat back. Wretched.
Awful.
Gene with the Mamalukes.
Got to have more Italians.
I will say this was the best segment on the show. For the Mamalukes, at least. because Big Vito cut a promo, and it was actually a pretty damn good promo. He's angry. He's upset with all those Fazanukes out there. That's a new one. Fazanukes? And he says, and I quote, "You guys are dead." He wants an Italian stretcher match. I like this promo.
Yeah, Vito was a pretty strong promo, actually.
Canyon, Dustin Rhodes. I swear to God, Dustin Rhodes puts Canyon in the corner. He splays his legs wide. He rears back. He kicks him as hard as he can in the nuts, the Shattered Dreams kick. Canyon does not sell it.
Well, he sells it and then stops.
It's so blatant that the announcers are literally asking on air, does he not have nuts? And then Dustin pins him.
Yeah, he hit the Shattered Dreams, and he sold it briefly, and then he, raked Dustin's eyes so that he could whip Dustin into the ropes, so Dustin could just cut him off and hit his finish.
Yes.
It's like, why didn't you just get kicked in the balls and take his finish?
I don't know. So
you didn't mention that the girls that were with him backstage were now in heart-shaped bikinis.
Oh, they were, yes. Thank you. Hulk Hogan promo. He's randomly back in the red and yellow. Booker T promo. So, if you remember, they have been overdubbing his music for weeks. Because I guess he had a Leave It to Beaver song. And he acknowledges here he has Leave It to Beaver music. So then, he comes out to face the Kiss Demon, and they play the Leave It to Beaver music. So I don't know why they edited it out off all the other shows. Booker beats the Kiss Demon in a squash.
Yeah, it was nothing. But
no.
This is the absurdity of WCW. It's like, this is a large company that does entrance music for all their talent. Clarence Mason owns Booker's music. They can't get him new music, so they give him Leave It to Beaver. Like, yes. WCW as a company can't come up with any other music for Booker.
No. They can't give him Jericho's theme because they gave it to the Monster Ripper.
Oh. Hogan, and then we get Flair Hogan.
Hogan and Flair. So they're in New York. Hogan is super over. Flair is super over. Hogan's a huge babyface. Flair's a huge heel. They were both in wrestling heaven.
The perfect opponents. This is probably every match you see of these two.
Yes.
But it's always great.
When they both pass on, they will do this match into eternity. They did every match they've ever had. Flair gives him a low blow right in front of the ref, who does nothing because fucking Nick Patrick, and he sucks. He looks right at him as they do it. Flair works over the knee. Hogan makes a comeback. Flair gets the gimmick, KOs him. Hart runs down. Flair punches him. Goes for the cover. Hogan kicks out, hulks up. Runs wild. Leg drop of doom. Luger hits the ring for the DQ. They double-team Hogan. He makes his own comeback, goes after Liz. She's pulled to safety. This was not a great match, but you know what? It was a professional wrestling match, and it was a lot of fun. I liked it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't think these two could have a bad match in this scenario. It was fun.
No. If you remember, in 2010, they had a match where Hogan blew out his hip running the ropes 2 minutes in, and he was 55, and Flair was 58, or whatever their ages were at the time, and they still had a decent match.
Yep. And then Hogan's posing and celebrating, and Luger comes back and hits him right in the head with the bat.
Yep.
Because we've got to just run in and jump them and let the babyface make a comeback, and then run in and jump them again.
So they stomped on the chair, and that was that. If you watch on Apple TV, by the way, the show ended here. There's a weird glitch.
Yeah, it was weird. On my iPad, when you get to the last 2 seconds of the show, a thing comes up on the bottom that says the next episode you can hit to play it, or you can close it off. It came up here.
Yes.
And I closed it off, but then the show kept going.
So that happened to me 5 times. I could not figure out how to watch the end of this show. I finally figured out how.
You shouldn't have tried.
Okay? So listen, if this happens to you, there have been about 3 Nitros this happened. If you're watching on Apple TV, and in the middle or near the end of the show, the screen comes up that says the next episode is going to start in 10 seconds, you have to scroll right to highlight that, then scroll back left to the show and click it, and the show will keep going. Otherwise, it just goes to the next show. It's very strange. Jeff Jarrett versus Sid. So there's good news and bad news. The good news is I would wrestle Sid anytime. Bad news is the match would suck. He's doing these punches in the corner.
You know, when
He could have punched an egg.
They don't even look like a punch.
He clubbers.
You know, at the beginning of this show, I mentioned, was there ever a bigger discrepancy on a good show to a bad show with Raw and Nitro? Has there ever been a match where the discrepancy in the quality of punch of the two people in a match has ever been greater?
Jarrett is throwing these unbelievable punches. Sid is throwing these unbelievable punches, both unbelievable in totally different ways. They're not even touching each other. Now listen, before anyone gets on me about being a hypocrite, listen. If you have a match with me, don't touch me. Do you understand? And I won't touch you. But we need to make an agreement that we will try to make it look like we're touching each other.
Yes,
you understand what I'm saying?
Part.
That's the hard part, okay? There's 3 ways to work. You can beat the shit out of each other. That sucks. You can not touch each other, but make it look good. That's perfect. Or you can not touch each other, and it looks like you're not touching each other. That's what these guys did. They had the lightest match. Like, if Kevin Dunn would have got a hold of this match, it would have been just incessant camera switching the entire time. Like every split second, they'd be switching the cameras. So finally, yes, there is a ref bump.
One of the worst ref bumps.
Here's what happens. Sid goes for a power bomb, and the ref falls down. I don't even think he lifted him up.
The ref was standing so close beside Sid when he went for the power bomb that he got touched as he went to pick the guy up.
So the ref's down.
Apparently the ref didn't know what a power bomb was and didn't know he should get out of the way.
Jeff hits Sid with the lightest belt shot in history. Ref goes to count. Sid kicks out. Jeff beats up the ref. Sid puts Jeff Jarrett in the crossface. He's now a technical wizard. The Harrises hit the ring. Jeff gets the guitar. There's no heat for any of this. It's dead silence. Jarrett hits Sid with a guitar. Jeff gets the pin. Jeff retains the title, his title. Sid retains his title. It is still a 3-way at the pay-per-view.
So actually the big swerve by WCW and Kevin Nash of making it for Jeff's title instead of Sid's actually screwed Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, that's the idea. Because Jeff's a heel and Nash is a babyface. But I see what you mean. Yes,
no,
yes.
but
Yes. If it would have been for the world title.
They were doing it as a punishment, but it actually... Because they were like, oh, Sid can win his title. But it's like, Jeff was supposed to not want his title on the line, but it's like, should have been the other way.
One way or the other. Do you remember at the beginning of the show when Tony promised that there would be a big surprise for all the gentlemen out there?
Maybe it was the girls in the heart bikinis?
I think that it was Stacy dancing on the desk, which in storyline, he didn't know was coming. I can't think of anything else. Unless they edited something else off the show.
Well,
I will say this. The normal 3-hour Nitros were 2 hours and 15 minutes on the network. And this one was only 2 hours and 2 minutes on the network. And so they may have lost 12 minutes because they had technical difficulties.
Yeah, because they did have this is presented in the most complete form possible.
Maybe there was something too hot for TV.
Maybe. We'll have to find someone on the board, look that up and tweet about it so we know what we missed.
Somebody let us know what was cut out here that the gentleman had been promised on this February 14th, Valentine's Day 2000 edition of Nitro.
There was only 20 hot chicks on this show. They must have edited off a couple more.
Yeah. All right. Before I could do the music. Before we go, yes, Rob? Don't you have something you got to read from Ed? You've been bugging me for weeks.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
Poor Rob. It's just a tough existence.
Tired of Ed IMing me about this, you yelling at me about it. Fuck all of this.
All of us?
All of this.
I see.
All right.
You too, Lance.
Not you, Lance. Although I do have a bone to pick with you about you making fun of Italians all the time.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Just those Italians in particular.
I see.
Rob was at the wedding. He didn't tell you that.
I am Italian, so hey.
I've been to real Italian weddings. They're way better than a tent backstage.
Usually.
Can't confirm.
Oh, man. Authentic Italian weddings are the best. Oh, the food.
All right, so WrestleMania weekend, Sunday, April 6th at 12 p.m., the Empire Lunch. All you can eat, by the way.
Oh.
Yes, will be had at Churrascaria Plataforma on West 49th Street in Manhattan.
Say that again, Rob, in your Italian accent.
That was actually supposed to be Portuguese. But,
Oh.
Churrascaria Plataforma.
That's not too bad. You speak Portuguese.
I do.
Hey, you should do better than that.
I try.
All right.
So it's $90 a person. For Manhattan, that's cheap.
I guess. I think Ed's trying to just get some money out of us, but go ahead.
Could be. So the address is 349. Shit.
Is there a website?
God damn it. There is not a website listed, but you can get all the information on the daily updates section of the Observer, front page of the Observer.
I see.
Okay. Also, luxury bus to MetLife Stadium for WrestleMania. It will depart from the Hilton Midtown, the site of WrestleCon, which is located at 1335 at the Avenue of Americas. Departure time is 4 p.m., and it will return from MetLife approximately 30 minutes after the main event. Times are subject to change, and the cost is $67 per person round trip.
Oh, round trip. That's
for all of you big spenders out there.
You know what Ed needs to do is just say, we're going to have a lunch at noon and a bus. And if you're going to WrestleMania and you want to be involved, the information's on the front page in every daily update. Is that it?
That's it.
All right, there you go. There you go. I'm still I'll plug Ed's stuff, but he still irritates me, and he knows it. Makes things worse.
Hey, Lance, if you ever come back to Seattle, I'll make sure you get some authentic Italian cooking.
Cooking?
Yeah, not for me, my wife.
I was going to take him just to
Applebee's again.
Oh, get out of here, Lance. You suggested that. Let's get some plugs in. Good job.
Why, thank you.
Let's talk about this Nitro show. What a weird show.
WCW Monday Nitro number 231, also February 21st of the year 2000.
Boy, when this show opened, I remembered. This was the day after Super Brawl 2000, where unannounced, as a complete surprise,
yes,
who should show up at WCW Super Brawl but James fucking Brown?
Yeah. The actual James Brown.
Excuse me, you say. James Brown? Mm-hmm. The godfather of soul?
The hardest working man in show business.
He appeared on Super Brawl unannounced.
Yeah.
I hate this company.
I'm sure they got him for free.
Well,
they had been building up forever that Shat, he always promised that someday James Brown was going to show up. Mm-hmm. A lot of this was on, like, Thunder, but he kept saying he was going to be here, and nobody believed the Shat. They thought he was full of Shat. And then all of a sudden one day, there's James Brown. They spent all that money to throw him on a show that nobody was going to buy. I don't know how many people would have bought it if you would have advertised James Brown, but why not?
Hey, they didn't even advertise a segment with the Cat.
No,
that's true.
I had no idea the Cat was going to be on that show. If they had the Cat out there promising to deliver James Brown to the pay-per-view, and the answer said, "Folks, he's full of it. Don't believe him," that would still be better. I had no idea any of this was going to happen. So
here's the results. I'm just going to throw out the results for everybody.
Are you doing the actual results or what you got from this recap?
No. You can do the recap, then I'll do the results.
All right, I'll do the recap. This is what I got out of their recap package. Prince Iaukea is now the artist formerly known as Prince Iaukea is now the Cruiserweight champion. Brian Knobbs is the Hardcore champion. The Wall beat the Demon. Tank beat Big Al. Big T beat Booker, I believe, with Swole debuting as in the New Harlem Heat.
It's not Swole, but yes.
My mistake. There was a stretcher match. I don't know who won. The Maestro was there. He passed out when James Brown arrived. Here I wrote, based on what I saw in this recap package, Dustin Rhodes screws Terry Funk.
Yes.
Okay. Hulk Hogan beat Lex Luger, and then Sid beat Jarrett and Hall in a three-way with like 1,000 ref bumps.
It's a pretty good video package, apparently.
I guess I got more than because I was still confused. Those are all best guesses.
All right, so the results were the Artist beat Lash LaRoux for the WCW Cruiserweight title. Knobbs beat Bam Bam Bigelow to win the Hardcore title. 3 Count beat Norman Smiley in a handicap match. The Wall beat The Demon, who last week got stuck in his casket because the hydraulics didn't work. Tank Abbott beat Big Al and then legit pulled a switchblade on him. in an unplanned spot.
Yeah. You remember this?
At which point, the announcers had to hurriedly say, I believe he's going to give him a haircut, and they cut away. They didn't know what to do. Big T beat Booker T. I'm sorry. I apologize. Big T beat Booker and retained the rights to the letter T. Billy Kidman beat Vampiro. The Mamalukes beat David Flair and Crowbar in a stretcher match. Ric Flair beat Terry Funk. Hulk Hogan beat The Total Package. And Sid beat Scott Hall and Jeff Jarrett. Yes, there were 11 matches on a show that went 2 hours and 45 minutes. So for the money that you paid for this, you got a bunch of matches lasting between 3 minutes and 37 seconds and a whopping 15 minutes for the Ric Flair-Terry Funk match.
And James Brown.
And James Brown. So here on Nitro, Gene is about to introduce somebody for an interview, but then he is surprised when Lex Luger's music plays. Lex runs down Hogan. He's all serious, angry Lex now, even though he lost the night before.
I beat the crap out of Hogan for 15 minutes, he said.
You had Jimmy Hart and Sting running interference for you and whatever.
It went 8.
Yeah. Next time he says Hogan won't get lucky, and at this point Hulk Hogan interrupts. He runs down Lex with the usual, says, if you're so worried about Jimmy Hart beating you up, don't worry, I have a steel cage prepared, so it'll just be you and me later on. Now, Hogan leaves, and Lex leaves, but they don't do a commercial. Instead, Jarrett comes out for another promo. He's whining about being screwed, at the same time claiming he is the chosen one. This does not make sense. Claims that he has a contract with a one-on-one rematch with Sid. You name the time, he says. I'll name the place.
That doesn't make sense.
No.
I should mention, by the way, that before this, they had a video package where he was in Nash's office and he KO'd him with a guitar. Okay? Yep. So he comes out here and he says, Nash's signature is on this rematch paper right here.
Mm-hmm.
The penmanship is sloppy, he says, but that's what happens when you get whacked with a guitar. So he's admitting on national television that he knocked out Kevin Nash, put a pen in his dead hands, signed this fucking contract, and that's how he's getting a rematch.
I question the competence of WCW's legal department here.
And then he promises to unleash the Harris twins and says they're going to be dropping a lot of H-bombs tonight.
Right.
Halcyons.
Sid arrives at the building. Billy Kidman and Tori must act.
God damn.
Kidman's going through his suitcase, tossing gear everywhere. I can't find my friggin' camera.
Where's my friggin' camera?
Tori says, maybe somebody stole it.
That was too good.
Probably. Kidman says, I hope not. We better get to the match. Man! And he just walks off. You hear, hey, you steal my camera?
TMZ would have a field day with that camera.
I bet they would, actually.
Sure. Oh, my God. You want to talk about bad acting. Medusa is walking backstage in, like, overalls, and I don't even know what else.
Sure.
And she's talking to herself.
Yeah.
She goes, keep in mind we're 20 minutes into the show.
Yes.
Oh, she says, who am I working tonight? I'm thinking, you're in the opener. Oh, you were late. No. Turns out she looks at the little thing and she goes,
Little thing. There's
a giant whiteboard.
It's not this. This is how you find out if you're wrestling in Nitro, apparently. You go just in the middle of a random point in the parking lot or the garage. There's a whiteboard with a bunch of matches written on it. And that's how you find out how you booked.
She looks at it. She goes,
no indie show I've ever been has been this rinky dink. At least they had a notepad and a pen, so it couldn't be altered
you
later.
have to drive to every building just in case they put you on the whiteboard.
Buy a ticket to check the whiteboard.
She looks on the whiteboard and says, I'm not working. Why do they keep stifling my career?
Why do they keep stifling my career?
It's Oklahoma, that piece of crap. She starts kicking the sign, and she goes, I want a women's division! Like, you were born too early, baby. You'd have it today.
Oh, God.
Stephanie hadn't invented it yet.
This was awful. Kidman versus LaRoux. It went 30 seconds. In that 30 seconds, Kidman, I think, broke his neck taking a head scissors.
Yeah, he did.
And Harris's attack for the DQ. Great. We waited 20 minutes for that match, by the way.
Yeah.
Someone has Kidman's camera, and they are filming Buff Bagwell hitting on Symphony. She flat turns him down, no interest whatsoever. And he accepts this, but he also warns her to keep her mouth shut. He can't have, You can't have word about this getting out.
You know that Buff Bagwell is a babyface?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could not have looked like a bigger geek. This guy is supposed
creep
to be, he's supposed to be a top babyface that the women all love because he's buff and he's the stuff. Mm-hmm. He hits on Symphony. She shoots his ass down, embarrasses him.
Yeah.
Oh, no one will ever know about this, he says.
Well, he menaces her. He intimidates her.
Yeah.
Don't you keep your mouth shut about this. Dude. No wonder she turned you down. You're a dick. Vampiro versus Fit Finley. Best spot I ever seen in this match. Finley at this point is wrestling in like a camo vest. So he's in there with Vampiro, and Vampiro rears back and hits a great big chop. Slap to the chest. And Finley says, yeah, little bastard, I can take that. Let me see what you got. And he unzips the chest and holds it open. So Vampiro says, okay. Hits him with an even bigger chop, and Finley screams and zips the chest back up. The vest back up. That was funny. They're doing this match. It is announced that Hogan versus Luger is now a last man standing cage match.
You got that right.
I guess.
Keep
in mind, there's no ref in the cage.
Yeah.
They basically said it's escape the cage.
It's escape the cage, yes.
But that's what they claimed. Anyway, here's the finish. Finley runs into the corner. Vampiro dodges. Finley hits the post. Vampiro schoolboys him and pins him.
Yep.
And then Fit attacks him and tombstones him.
What was the point of any of this?
I wrote pointless.
It was absolutely pointless.
In what must have been the lowest point of his professional wrestling career, Buff Bagwell is backstage getting his ass kicked by the Maestro.
Maestro's in the mount, raining down punches.
Buff is helpless.
Bagwell can't do anything. They send out the geeks to pull him apart, and then Maestro does his best Ric Flair impression. He's ready for a match later on tonight. This was the second most embarrassing moment of Bagwell's career. Getting shot down by Symphony was number one.
That's true. That happened
is number
well.
2. And he's the baby face.
Yes.
I was cheering for the Maestro.
I have a lot of things to say about the Maestro. La Parca is reading the newspaper backstage. Mm-hmm. Medusa interrupts him, whispers in her ear. He replies, Si, señorita. And she leaves, and he shrugs, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, remember the Nitro Girls broke up? It was like a months-long thing.
Right. Yeah.
They're back together now.
Well, some of them like each other, some of them don't.
They dance. They were separated. So maybe they have one crew in the ring and one crew up at the stage. Gene interviews Booker, who says he's lost the tea and the music and the flames, but he knows all of this, so he's going to fight on it anyway. So it's announced that Booker will face Big Vito. But then Disco comes out and says, well, it turns out they made it Booker against me, the manager of champions. But instead, I think it should be Booker versus both Mamalukes in a handicap match with the tag team titles on the line.
So the Mamalukes hear this, and they're unhappy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would be.
They're getting a 2-on-1 match against one man.
Yes.
And they're upset about this.
Well, they have nothing to gain.
Well, the tag team titles.
Yeah, they beat the hell out of this guy. It's what they have to gain. Vito is wearing his goddamn belt during this match again.
Yes.
Okay. I got a love-hate relationship with this Vito. He's a good worker, he's a very good promo, and he's a goddamn idiot. What is he doing out there with this belt on? He never sells anything.
No.
He's out there, he doesn't sell unless he absolutely positively has to.
Yeah.
I guess he's not a good worker then. His stuff looks good.
Neither is Johnny the Bull, who fucked up a bookend here.
Yeah, but at least last week when they got their asses handed to them, Johnny the Bull sold when he was on the stretcher.
Fair enough.
Unlike Vito, who leaped off the stretcher selling nothings.
Fair enough. So Booker goes to the bookend, and Johnny just falls down, and Booker looks at him, and just goes, meh. Turns to Vito to do something. So he kicks both their asses. This is why they were unhappy, Brian. They knew Booker would beat him up. And finally, Disco attacks with a DQ.
Ah, see, they kept their titles. What are they so mad about?
Well, maybe they're mad they knew the Harrises would come out and kill everybody.
Hey, I thought this match was good while it lasted.
Sure. It was fun. Gene interviews Terry Funk and Dustin Rhodes, confusing the hell out of me. Because I could have sworn in the opening package they showed Dustin Rhodes turning on Terry. Am I wrong? Am I crazy?
Sounds like it to me.
That's what I saw.
So Terry says this kid's 10 times tougher than his daddy ever was. And Dustin starts running down the Harrises. You two big bald-headed bastards, whatever he said. And Gene took offense at this. Bald.
So in the recap here, at least on Wikipedia, there's no mention whatsoever of Dustin.
Either I'm an idiot or their video package sucked. Or both.
It could be both, yeah.
Could be both. So they go from Dustin and Funk doing this promo. The announcers flap their gums for a while, and they cut backstage, and there's Sid in a room by himself on a chair. He just starts cackling.
Yeah.
And he screams, "I've got plenty to say!" And then he doesn't say anything, and they go to commercial.
It's a little weird.
Every Sid segment feels like I'm missing something. Something's been filmed out of order. or cut off the
it's
show.
not you. You ever think of that? Maybe it's not you.
Gene interviews the new Harlem Heat.
What was Big T wearing?
I'll tell you, he was wearing a salmon pink sweatsuit.
It looked like, you remember the workout movies with, Let's Get Physical? It looked like something one of the girls
Olivia
wear.
Newton-John.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Dating me.
So this big dude, by the way, was not swole.
Okay.
It was the former 4x4.
See, I thought 4x4 was swole. So
No, those
are all the same dude.
Those are different men.
Different giant men.
Yes.
Yeah. So Stevie says Booker knows this man, that his name is Cassius. Definitely not Ono, if you're wondering. Different man. The artist formerly known as Prince Iaukea versus La Parka with Oklahoma on commentary. Yes, Oklahoma on commentary for no reason other than, I guess, he knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So Parker comes out to challenge for the Cruiserweight title.
Sure.
Parker's looking tiny this week, except as they noted, the pectoral region.
Yeah. Little busty La Parka.
I did laugh when Oklahoma says, "Looks like he's got a great bench press."
So Iaukea is very, very confused. Oklahoma hits the ring, tears off La Parka's mask. Shock of shocks, it's Medusa. At this point, the real La Parka hits Oklahoma with a chair. The artist hits La Parka with a chair and pins him with a diving DDT. What the hell was this?
I wrote just a bunch of bullshit.
Sure.
That's literally my recap of this segment here.
Jeff Jarrett and the Harrises walk. Terry Funk and Dustin Rhodes walk. Ric Flair cuts a promo on behalf of Lex Luger and his arms.
Yeah, Luger and Liz are back there, and Flair's randomly with them now. And the audio is horrible.
Yeah.
They're promoting the cage match tonight. Flair's ranting and raving. He's cutting the promo for Luger. He's out of his mind, and he's in the middle of a sentence, and they cut away to the Harris brothers heading to the ring.
Yeah.
They cut away from Ric Flair doing a promo.
Well, here's what I think happened. The gimmick is Flair is supposed to do all the talking for Lex. Lex is standing there. He's got the cables just doing the bicep curls. So Flair's supposed to do all the talking. And as Flair is ranting, he loses his mind and says, "Tell him, package." And Lex just looks at him and keeps on doing curls. And Flair says, "Show him, package." And he keeps on going. So I think they gave Flair the cue to wrap it up, but he screwed up his line and then just kept barreling through.
I see. Well, it's very important that we went to the ring for the Harris brothers versus Terry Funk and Dustin Rhodes. They beat the fuck out of Funk for an hour again, just like last week. They just beat him and 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 beat him. There was a ton of heat. And every time Terry Funk fired up, dude, you talk about Raw. This crowd here was 1,000 times better than Raw on Monday. And this place is dying.
Yeah.
So Jarrett goes for the guitar. There's a bunch of shit that happens.
No, I'm going to detail this.
Okay.
Jarrett, who's been doing commentary, he distracts Funk with the guitar. This brings out Sid. This causes Jeff Jarrett to hit the bell ringer with the guitar and run away. Sid gives chase. Dustin tags in, DDT's Funk. Jarrett runs into a car and drives away. We go back to the ring where Dustin's hitting Funk with a chair. We go back to the garage where Sid is saying, "Damn!" Tony Schiavone screams, "Two things going on at once!" And he is not wrong. Horrible television!
It was a mess. Did we add, by the way, that Dustin was knocked off the apron, Funk put the spinning toe hold on the Harris brother, and the Harris tapped, and that idiot Nick Patrick didn't see it somehow?
No, I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
It's news to me.
There was a foot race, and Sid's a softball player, so, I mean, he moved all right, all things considered.
Sure.
And Jarrett flees in a limo, and Sid did, in fact, yell, "Damn!" And then there was, in fact, two things going on at once, and it was a mess. And then somebody holds up a sign that says, "What decade is this?" But there's more.
There is more. Actually, before we go to the next thing, I do want to add that as they go to break, Dustin is still beating on Funk. Funk's laying
We haven't
down.
even got there yet.
All right.
No.
Dustin turned on Funk. That's an important part of this story.
Well, I mentioned it when it happened.
And he kills him with unprotected chair shots to the head.
Yeah, quite a few.
Mark Madden jokes, Funk might not be able to find his way home tonight.
Ha!
And then he got his head rammed into a chair repeatedly. And
Well, when you say that, he's down on the ground.
yeah, he was ramming his own head.
Yes.
to make it look
Dustin
real.
is throwing punches, and Funk is selling the punches by banging his head into the chair.
Right.
This still sucked, but that was funny. All right. We go to break, finally. We come back. We have a Buff promo. One thing is taken out of context, he says, and the boys stir it up.
It's true.
Again, he's the babyface.
Yeah.
We saw the video, dude. It's not being taken out of context. I think he said something about this happened before. He almost got caught before. A reference to Kimberly.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, says if the Maestro pushes his buttons, he'll show him how rough Buff can get.
With Symphony or with the Maestro?
I guess I'll have to show us.
Maestro. He said very specifically, I'm Buff, I'm the stuff, I will show the Maestro how rough I can get.
Terry Funk is loaded into an ambulance. Dustin pulls him out and then steals the ambulance. What a dick move.
That's against the law.
It is.
I'm sure it is.
All right, this has been an awful Nitro in hindsight. It's even worse than I realized at the time. But as I like to say, I am a fair man. And when something great happens...
Sid's promo.
Sid's promo here. Jesus, this was awesome. Says, yeah, I'll grant Jarrett a one-on-one match. I think it should be at Uncensored 2000. I like Jarrett. He's clever. He keeps me on my toes.
He's clever.
He's smarter than Psycho Sid. But you can never be the master of the master and the ruler of the world. I will see you in hell, Jeff Jarrett, and hell will be at Uncensored 2000.
That was awesome.
God, this is great.
He's a very talented
This
talker, I
was
think.
outstanding.
Yes, Hall of Awesome.
Yes. Kidman and Booker are being held back. They're trying to get at the Harrises. Buff is backstage just strutting. Gene interviews Flair.
Another random Flair promo.
Yes.
He's in there. He says, Dustin did what was right tonight. I'm sick of you, Gene. You and everybody else kissing Hogan's ass. He's never going to run wild again after tonight. And here's the point of all of this. Flair wants to get the fuck out of here. He hates this company, okay? They're giving him his lines. He's there on television. He's doing his lines. But he's being a parody of himself.
Yeah.
Like, he's totally over the top. He's just fucking around. Gene's trying so hard not to laugh at the end of this thing. And they cut away.
He's Lex Luger's mouthpiece now. He's Lex's manager, effectively. He says that the package will tear Hogan apart tonight. Get him, package! Package isn't even there.
No, of course not.
All right, it's time to talk about my new favorite terrible wrestler. The best bad wrestler I ever saw this week. Buff Bagwell versus the Maestro.
The Maestro's not that bad.
So Buff comes out. He's Buff Bagwell. The Maestro's music starts to play. It is soft piano music. I'm pretty sure it's Paul Orndorff's Mr. Wonderful theme just on the piano. There's bubbles falling from the ceiling. And out comes the Maestro full of rage.
Well, he's mad.
He's mad and he's swatting
Bagwell
away,
hit
swatting
on
away
his
the
woman.
bubbles.
He's tearing his cape off, sneering. He is, in fact, swatting the bubbles away. And as soon as I was about to
How
write...
can you call him a bad wrestler? He's doing everything right, Vinny.
I was about to write how he's raging these stories through the bubbles, and I swear to God, Tony says he is storming through the bubbles to get to the ring to Buff Bagwell.
Vinny, I've seen Ronda Rousey get her ass kicked with a fucking kendo stick for 20 minutes and come out the next night smiling. The Maestro did what was right.
I'll say he did.
This fucker hit on his woman, and he's mad.
So
These stupid bubbles. Get these goddamn bubbles out of here. I want to beat this guy's ass. Runs down to the ring, house of fire.
he leads into Buff. They're brawling. The end about... So Bagwell takes over. And Bagwell, the babyface, decides in the middle of the match now is a good time to hit on Symphony again.
Vinny, this is not the Maestro's fault. Do you understand?
Hey,
No, it's not. It's Symphony's fault.
I don't care. I'm just happy it happened. Listen, so Buff's hitting on Symphony. Buff's back to the Maestro. The Maestro decides, I am going to charge. Now, I didn't know there were more than one way to charge somebody. I thought you would just run at them. Now, after this happened,
He's mad.
After this happened, I tried to think of different ways. Maybe you get a 3-point stance like a football player.
Are you crazy?
Maybe you rear back like Wile E. Coyote and you run.
This ain't no cartoon.
Oh, I beg to differ.
It's not supposed to be.
Here is what the Maestro did. Mr. Producer, could you pan out, please? Zoom out on me so you get a wide shot. I apologize for those of you who are not video customers, but it's critical that I demonstrate what happened here with the Maestro. No, that's my belly. There we go. Okay.
It's hard to miss that.
The Maestro he's like selling, and he gets up and he sees Buff, and I swear to God, he goes, and he runs. He runs. He lets his hands in the air, his eyes bug out, and he growls, and he roars, and he runs. I have only in my life ever seen one humanoid ever charged like this. It was Blackula in Scream, Blackula Scream, and it was a bad special effect. This is the Maestro actually doing this. Now, that's how he starts the charge. I'm done now. You can zoom back in. Thank you. I appreciate the extra work. We'll throw a little extra in your check this week.
It's going to be for Vinny's paycheck for missing Nitro last week.
That's right. So now he's charging. Now here's the idea. He's going to charge, and Buff will dodge, so the Maestro will wipe out Symphony. Okay? So he charges. Buff steps to the Maestro's left, but Symphony steps to the Maestro's right. So now the Maestro has to change direction. He must zig.
That's not even the whole problem.
Okay?
All Symphony had to do was say move at the right time.
Yes.
Okay? The moment Maestro raises his arms in the air, she goes, Buff, move. And he gets out of the way. So now there's no Buff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the Maestro still has to run and miss Buff.
Yes.
So he just runs like a crazy man for an hour. Fucking runs into Symphony.
Well, no,
which is supposed to be an accident.
Yes.
But it does not come off as an accident.
Do you know how much...
Because Symphony fucked it up.
Symphony fucked it up by stepping to her left, so Maestro to step to her right. Then she stepped back to her right. She was actually trying to dodge him. He had to target her like a linebacker chasing a running back in the open field. And I guess he is kind of athletic because he did tackle her in the end.
Yeah.
I'm laughing. There is more to come. So this match goes on for a while. The cat comes out on stage.
Oh, fuck this. He comes out and he goes, Maestro, a bet is a bet. And Tony Schiavone says, well, we won't forget the bet.
I forgot the bet.
I was like, what the fuck is the bet? I don't even know what the bet is.
Yeah.
Isn't that the announcer's job to tell me what the bet is?
One would think.
He says, we won't forget. What about me?
So, regardless, as the cat has distracted Maestro, Buff hits the blockbuster and wins. Maestro no-sells this because he's angry at the cat. And the cat, I guess in reference to the bet, says, I have new music for you. Because whatever bet they had...
Apparently the bet was that if Shat showed up with James Brown, Maestro would have to use whatever music Shat wanted him to use.
I see.
Which I think is 3 Counts music.
Yeah.
But whatever it was, they couldn't use it.
Yeah.
So they played just some normal song. Maestro is furious.
Maestro, if any of you want to know what I look like when I have a freak out on Michael Cole or Kevin Dunn or when I have to go for a walk, I do exactly what the Maestro did here. This is why the Maestro is my favorite wrestler, my favorite bad wrestler. I identify with the Maestro. The Maestro speaks for me. His freak out, his hands shake, his eyes bug out, his head zigs back and forth. He starts running around, kicking all the ropes, and finally attacking the referee with rage. I can't do it justice. It's awesome. I watched it 20 times in a row. I gift it. I shared it. I'll put it in the thread. I love the Maestro. Unironically.
He's pretty great.
He's got the worst physique on the show. He's very...
Oh, are you kidding me? He ain't got the worst physique on the show. Not even close. Fucking Big T.
There is Big T.
Yeah, there's a lot of other people like that.
Okay, he has a below average physique.
Okay, I'll take
He's
that.
a below average athlete based on the Nitro roster. But he's the best. He's just the best. And I want the Maestro to be on TV every week now. The Wall is walking. Sid, I guess in pursuit of Jarrett 20 minutes after the fact, like zips into his limo, says, let's go! And the limo takes off. We get clips from WCW Saturday Night.
This.
Where Hacksaw Jim Duggan, has found the TV title in the trash. Mm-hmm. He cuts a promo on the Prima Donna Millionaires, who threw this in the trash. This belt has 20 years of history, he says. That's longer than all these fancy Dan shows have been around.
Yeah, he's on a show that's been around way longer than 20 years, I might add.
Yes. He dares anyone to come take his belt, and believe you me, anyone answered.
Yeah.
Robert Gibson.
Of the Rock and Roll Express.
In the year 2000.
Yeah. He hasn't aged in 19 years.
No, I guess not. He comes out. They probably had a pretty good match, I bet.
I'm sure they did.
Hacksaw pinned him with a knee drop. This brings out William Regal, who says, I have won the TV title 4 times. I am the greatest TV champion of all time. You, Hacksaw Duggan, are a disgrace to that belt, and if I can't beat you for that, I will retire from WCW. So Hacksaw's Hunter, and Regal is Cactus. And
yeah,
if I
basically.
can't beat for the title, I'll retire.
Yeah.
And
Allow me.
They actually plugged a match for Saturday night.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
On Nitro.
You numbskulls weren't here this week, and you didn't even watch it, Vinny. So, they have been building up this fucking wall for about however long it took to build the Great Wall of China.
Sure.
Years, decades. He beats everybody.
Sure does.
Like, why is the fucking wall beating everybody? And I believe it was you that said, well, they must be building him up for
Hogan.
Hulk.
Hogan needs a big guy to fight.
Well, last week on the show you didn't watch, he faces Bam Bam Bigelow, and Bigelow hits him with his fucking move and pins him clean in the middle of the ring.
Yep.
Oh.
I thought, what in the fuck was that all about?
When I said they were building him up for Hogan, what I meant was Bam Bam.
So I was mad last week, because I was like, I wasted all my time watching this fucking wall, and now they just beat him like his streak is over, okay? So this week, it's the Wall versus Bam Bam Bigelow in a rematch.
Yes.
They go out there, Bigelow hits all of his moves, the Wall kicks out of all of them, and then the Wall beats Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yes.
I was filled with so much fury. And you know what's interesting about this? I'll tell you. Why was I so mad?
50 booking?
I was mad because they did something last week that was dumb. And then they undid it, or they tried to undo it this week. Then I realized this happens every week today
Yes.
in WWE.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
And what's funny about it is, it happens way more today than it happened back then when this goddamn company was dying.
Mm-hmm.
This was like an aberration.
Yeah.
That's why I got mad.
I
Then I
see.
thought about it. I'm like, that was an aberration back then? That's a weekly occurrence now. They fucking beat Braun. Think about this. It was Braun Strowman against Brock Lesnar scheduled for the Royal Rumble.
Yes, Brian.
In a big-ass dome.
Yeah.
Okay. So, at some point in, like, December, Vince decided, God damn, I don't want to beat Strowman again. Put Finn in there. So, they made the decision to take Braun out of the match. But because it's the Royal Rumble, they continued advertising him because they had to sell 40,000 tickets. And then at the last minute, they took him out of the match. They put Finn in. Why? Let's rewind. Because Vince didn't want to beat the guy. Mm-hmm. So, on fucking Sunday, Braun Strowman goes out there and gets beaten by Baron Corbin.
Right.
Okay. It's like, I was so mad about this Sunday. Well, imagine my fury the next night when they do Braun Strowman versus Baron Corbin in a rematch,
Tables match.
and Braun beats Baron Corbin.
Right.
What?
Well, it's important that everyone's a loser.
Fucking A. Is wrestling that hard?
Yes.
That's a rhetorical question. The answer is no, it's not that hard. But why does it have to be so dumb? Why does it have to be so dumb all the time?
Well, the only thing I can add to all this is there's a point here where the Wall charges, and Bam Bam ducks and pulls down the top rope, and Wall tumbles to the floor. And Tony Schiavone described this as a thinking man's maneuver. Get out of the way. I guess it's something a thinking man
He's
would
still
do.
better commentary than anybody on the main shows right now.
Of course he is. Of course he is. But I'm trying to...
It is worst period.
Trying to entertain people. Hogan is backstage, slamming his cast into a fence and shouting Lex Luger's name.
I laughed.
Ric Flair gives David Flair and Arn Anderson a lecture tells them to do what he says and get their act together, and they reacted like they would not do what he said, or get their act together. Oh, let's see. We have a Hogan promo.
Hogan does his promo. They do the old WWE deal. Let's leave the camera on him for an awkwardly long amount of time.
Yes.
And they leave it on him so long that he presumes there's no way we're still live. And he just breaks character. And then they cut away.
What you gonna do when I kick your ass?
Yep.
I laughed almost as hard at that as I did at the night.
I watch this show and I see these things, and I go, it's fucking WCW. That's what I used to say. But now I see all of these things on Raw.
Flair and Lex find Jimmy Hart and beat him up.
They beat him up with popcorn.
Right. Ric Flair. Well, they did.
They attacked him with popcorn, Vinny.
That happened. I can't deny that happened. But they did a lot of other things to him as well. Now, Ric Flair is however many a dozen-time world champion by this point, and not that long ago. 2 years ago, I think he was a world champion, maybe 3. Lex Luger is a 275-pound bodybuilder, also a former world champion. Jimmy Hart is, I think at this point, a senior citizen, maybe 150 pounds. He's getting beat up by these 2 professional warriors. They're destroying him. And they beat him, and they beat him, and they beat him. They go to the ringside. There's an arena full of people. The announcers are there. Security is there. Refs are there. They all just watch as they beat him, and they beat him, and they beat him. And they go to commercial, and they come back. They're still beating him.
Yes, they are.
How did he survive? He just stomped him and stomped him and stomped him and stomped him and stomped him. Finally, Hogan makes a save because his music plays. He runs out. He beats up Flair and Luger, throws Luger into the cage, and the match finally begins. It is 2 old men who can barely move, doing a lot of choking and stomping and clubbering.
This is not good.
Hogan does the spot where he does an elbow smash and rolls up to his feet and does another one, does like 3 in a row. I never was particularly impressed by it until I saw Lex Luger try to do it here. I realized, wow, Hogan's a lot better than I knew. That's a lot harder than I thought it was, apparently. So Lex puts on the torture rack. He thinks Hogan's done. He lets go. Hogan hulks up, and it still works. This crowd loved Hogan hulking up.
They went nuts for this guy.
They're losing their...
He was crazy for
They're
this.
losing their mind. He hits the big boot, hits the leg drop. Flair comes back down and attacks Hogan. Mistake on Flair's part. It's Hogan versus 2 men for a long time. Finally, Lex hits Hulk with the chair. He goes down. Doug Dillinger gets in the ring. Lex puts his arm in the chair and breaks it. And that's how the show goes off the air. There was no finish in the last man standing cage match.
Right? Well, I mean, it was escape the cage. And so my assumption from watching this is that the first 2 men to put their feet on the ground were, in fact, the heels.
That's a reasonable assumption.
So I believe that Lex Luger was, in fact, the winner of this particular match.
hope they alert us to what happened after curfew here.
Gosh, I'm going to be on the edge of my seat until I find out.
So the best thing on the show, besides the Maestro, was in fact Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair in the year 2000.
Yeah.
That
surprises you. Why?
I don't know. I mean, it shouldn't surprise me. It's kind of...
it is a disaster for WCW.
You're paying a lot of guys a lot of money to stay alive, and your best reaction is for the 2 legends.
I love that they're in a steel cage match. They're surrounded by metal, barbed wire, or not barbed wire, but galvanized steel, chain link. Hogan takes his fucking guy to the corner. He puts his cast in the corner, and he rams his head into his own cast. Yes. I'm like, okay, this is stupid for 1,000 reasons.
Sure.
Number 1, throw him into the metal. Number 2, that's your broken arm. Why are you ramming this guy's head in your arm?
All legit questions.
So that was Nitro.
Well, I got your music.
Okay, then. You told me you had my music.
Would you shut up?
The finishes on this show were... DQ due to run-in after 30 seconds. Clean pin. DQ due to interference. Pin after an imposter and a commentator were both in the ring and a chair was used several times. DQ when one guy hits his own partner with a chair. Pin after distraction. Clean pin. No finish in a last man standing steel cage match.
Shazam. That's it, everybody.
We are at war.
What a great show.
Sure.
No, it sucked.
Yeah.
Brian.
Yes, Rob.
Where's your flag?
I got it here. That stupid flag. Yes, Rob.
I'll wipe my Minoru Suzuki socks.
Why isn't your mic working?
I don't know.
You can't talk then.
Well, fine, to hell with you.
They did something to it.
Okay.
Should I just move mine over?
Talk again.
Talk.
Okay, go ahead.
Operator.
And I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, no. I remember.
Trained professional.
Yes. I'm actually not a trained professional. I'm a pseudo-amateur, not trained producer.
So you're trying to get fired, or what are you doing here?
Well, you already threatened me once today with that, so what the
Okay.
hell?
I was here.
All right. Watch it. Go ahead, Vinny. Nitro.
WCW Monday Nitro number 232, February 28th of the year 2000. Now, we have been, the past month or so, been building up to a feud between Sid Vicious, the WCW champion, and his top challenger, Jeff Jarrett, the chosen one. So this show opens, and there's a Sid versus Tank Abbott video package.
I think this was way cheesier than giving birth to a hand. This goofy video package they put together was so corny. It's just ridiculous.
So first of all, I was just confused. I thought, is that happening? Is that going to be on this show? So also in this video package, Kevin Nash is crazy now. Dallas Page is helping Ric Flair beat Vampiro. I have no idea why. And Jarrett is breaking guitars over a ref's head. So then Sid arrives, seething. He just gets out of his car in his blue sweatshirt and turns to the camera and seethes. And Tank arrives and everyone's cheering for him. And yes, the main event of this show in a world title match, Sid Vicious versus Tank Abbott.
Yep.
Fuck yes.
I'll remember you said that.
Oh, who can remember that?
I heard Vinny squeal all the way from my house.
I'm so excited. So Jeff Jarrett, who the storyline is, has been breaking guitars over random people's heads. Mike Tenay, confronts him.
Hey,
Yeah.
there's more, Vinny. He broke a guitar over Tenay's head.
He did. They brought it up here.
Yeah, Tenay doesn't give a shit. Totally no-sells it. Just goes up and starts asking this guy. And the key to this interview, everybody, is Jeff Jarrett explains. Listen carefully. I don't care, he says, that Tank Abbott is getting a title shot tonight.
Yeah.
I don't care. My title shot uncensored is signed, sealed, and delivered. Mike Tenay, who, mind you, was hit with a guitar by Jeff Jarrett recently. Mike Tenay's question is, if Tank wins, do you think you can beat him? Could you ask a dumber question? The fuck do you expect Jeff Jarrett to say? Jeff says, yes, I can beat him.
He guaranteed it.
Guaranteed it, yes. Maybe Tenay's writing all the questions for the interview people on WWE nowadays.
So this show got off to a horrible in-ring start.
I'll say.
It's the Mamalukes versus Lane and Idol.
Can I just say something here?
Please.
You know, I've been doing interviews with people for many, many years, and rarely, I'm sure you can find some instances, but rarely when I'm interviewing somebody, is there a very awkward moment. You want to know why?
Buff Bagwell.
That's totally different. Okay? Because why bother asking a stupid question? Why bother asking a question that you know you're not going to get an answer to? Do you know what I'm saying? Who writes these fucking questions for people on Raw and now on Nitro? Why would you ever go into the UFC and say, you know you're fighting Conor McGregor next week on pay-per-view.
Pack your bags, Vinny, and run.
Do you think you can beat him? Who the fuck would ever ask that stupid fucking question to the challenger for somebody in a fight? And that question is asked all the time on Raw and now on Nitro. And you know what the person always answers? They say, what a stupid question. Because it is a goddamn stupid question.
So backstage, Lane and Idol, they got their blue jeans and the sunglasses.
Shiny shirts.
Very shiny shirts. So they dumped Miss Hancock a few weeks ago. She comes back wanting to be the manager again. They blow her off and say, you're getting in the way of our rat chasing.
By the way, these are the two characters 3 months ago. They were gay.
Yes.
What's your point, Vinny?
So they turn to leave, but forget being out of earshot, they're still in front of her. And she just looks up and says, I think it's time for me to teach these boys a lesson.
What surprises you about this?
I don't know, man. I just forgot.
Do you remember when she debuted like 3 months ago and was the worst actor of all time?
Well, she's gotten no better.
Okay.
She's not improved.
It takes time.
Now, the first 10 seconds of this here wrestling match, seriously, among the worst 10 seconds of wrestling I've ever seen. They try to do some double team spot with guys running off the ropes, and they're at a sink. Like, all 4 guys are fucking up at once in totally different ways. It's mind-numbing. I was blown away. So Disco's out there doing commentary. He's managing the Mamalukes. Madden, who is the heel announcer, is still burying Disco. Miss Hancock comes out. Disco goes to interfere. Miss Hancock dances on the table in her itty-bitty skirt. Lane and Johnny the Bull conveniently have dollar bills in their pants to give her. So eventually everyone is distracted. All the wrestlers and the ref and Disco.
Except Vito.
And the announcers. Vito is the only one who kept his head in the game.
Because he got to win.
That's true.
He hit Idol with a DDT and pinned him. This was a World Tag Team Championship match.
And he's Idol now. He's not Lodi.
No. Yes. Yeah.
What?
I don't know. So Vito asks Miss Hancock to dance for them. She comes in and dances with the Mamalukes.
So not only did he get to win the match,
he got to dance with the girl.
He got to dance with the girl.
And I'm not going to say he danced better than Miss Hancock, but for totally different reasons, it may have been more entertaining.
Well, he danced better than China.
That's true.
Sure.
That's true. Now, this is still one segment. The Harrises run out and kill everybody.
Yeah.
They kill everyone. They cut a promo. They get cut off by their own music, and they leave.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Craig. Backstage on Billy Kidman's stolen camera.
Oh, God. Yeah, I got it. Okay, listen. I got to talk about this, okay? Because I talked about it last week. Last week, Buff hit on
Symphony.
Right.
Ryan Shamrock. And she shot him down and humiliated him. Okay? He's the babyface.
And then he said, please don't tell anybody.
Okay?
Actually, he bullied her. You better not tell anybody.
This week, he tries to hit on Liz. Liz says, Buff, package. Buff, package. Buff, package. No, thank you. She walks off. He's appalled. He's been shot down a second time.
He's the babyface.
Okay?
Are we sure?
He's the babyface. All right? Now, later, actually, right after this,
yes,
they go to Ric Flair, Luger, and Liz are watching on tape. Flair goes, Bagwell must be out of his mind. We need to go take care of business. And so, these 3 men decide that they've got to go take care of this fella that hit on Luger's woman. They're the heels. Okay?
Okay.
All right. My point of all of this is, because I need to be a fair man, all right? When something stupid is booked and you get the wrong reaction from what you think you're going to get, you're dumb, okay? When they did the Becky Lynch deal where she won and she won and she won and she won and she fairly earned a title shot, and then Charlotte waltzed her way in before SummerSlam, got her way into the match, and then won by pinning her friend from behind, Becky. And then Becky turned and beat the shit out of her. And they were surprised that Becky was cheered. They're dumb. Okay? With that said, for the second week in a row, when Bagwell comes out for this fucking match, he's a huge babyface. So it doesn't matter what we thought about this, okay? It doesn't matter who we thought should be the babyface or the heel. Whatever they're fucking doing, for some reason, maybe it's because it's the 90s, it's working. And Bagwell's a babyface.
Maybe these super hot girls shoot him down so the ugly ones go, hey, I might have a shot.
I have no explanation. So, we have predictions for tonight's epic main event. Bam Bam Bigelow, to make a long story short, he predicts Sid will beat Tank because he has more experience in the pro wrestling ring.
Sure.
Ricky Rockman and the Nitro parties are back.
Ricky's back. The show's turning around.
Hey, the good news is, that means spring break is coming.
Spring break is coming.
I'm okay with that.
All right.
Everything about this segment
And I
was
can
lame.
fast forward through everything he was involved in.
Somebody's going into a pool.
So this Hogan promo.
Oh, incredible!
First of all, he's backstage in like a pre-tape. Probably not even at the
Not
building.
backstage. He looks like he's in a sewer.
It wasn't like a giant pipe. That's actually true.
He's in a giant, enormous pipe.
Hanging out with Michelangelo and Donatello.
I was going to make that joke. Nicely done, Vinny.
His arm is in a cast.
Yes.
Still.
He's incredibly leathery, which is ironic.
It's true.
He actually looks 19 years older than he does today, and it was 19 years ago. I don't know how that's even possible.
He was more leathery than the belt.
He looked like a pterodactyl back there, cutting this promo.
So,
And what a promo it was.
he talks about taking the slow, this is his words,
Yeah.
the slow rolling coffin to the emergency room. What?
Well, he was afraid that Jimmy Hart, and I quote, it's not a direct quote, this is what he inferred. He was afraid Jimmy Hart might die
I guess.
as a result of the beating that Luger gave him.
So,
He broke his hand, nearly stopped his heart, apparently.
a weakened, withered, clinging to life Jimmy Hart was able to whisper one word. Yapapai.
Oh, yes.
So,
Yapapai, says Hulk.
did he do this with Vader too, or was this the debut of the Yapapai strap match?
I seem to recall he did it another time. I don't know if he fucked it up both times, but it's the Yavapai Indians. And he decided it was Yapapai.
Yeah.
He screwed it up.
So he's shouting and screaming, "You will understand what the Yapapai mean by the Indian strap match."
The Yapapai Indian strap match.
So this Yavapai tribe,
Yavapai, Craig.
okay, Yavapai, are they?
Of course not.
Is this what they do for sports?
Do they have strap matches?
Okay,
are they good disciplinarians?
Kevin Sullivan wrote this. That's all you need to know. I'm surprised it wasn't a Chinese strap match from 2,000 years ago.
Didn't have it on a scroll.
Yeah.
So all I could think watching this, besides the absurdity of the Yapapai, was this is now the year 2000.
Yeah.
The 21st century. And he's doing the exact same Hulk Hogan thing from 1983.
Yes.
Yes.
And not the Hulk Hogan that was in WWF after this, where the nostalgia was part of it.
Vinny, let me explain this to you. It's exactly what Sullivan said about the Dungeon of Doom. He wanted to make Hulk Hogan happy, and so he created the Dungeon of Doom. A bunch of giant cartoons that Hulk Hogan could beat up. So Sullivan's back. So he's going to make Hulk Hogan happy by giving him an 80s promo about a Yapapai strap match with his favorite opponent that he gets to win. What's the problem?
That is true. So Gene interviews Flair. Flair has Hogan's weightlifting belt. He declares Hulkamania is dead. He's ranting and being
Yeah, how did he get his weight belt? Hogan had it.
No, he got a different strap.
They beat him.
Oh.
There could be more than one. Yeah. So they're probably all at the wall at Postamania or whatever. So
Went out of business in 95.
what's this? The one in Florida called?
This is
shop.
his surf
Current?
shop.
Yeah.
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 Pastamania. Jesus.
So Lex has a chair with Sting's logo like taped onto it.
There hasn't been a Pastamania since you graduated high school, Vinny.
Look, this is an old show. It's about Hulk
Not
Hogan.
that old.
It's not that much different. It was like 5 years after that.
It's an eternity.
Listen, Lex has a chair with Sting's logo on it, and that's weird.
Okay.
So they're running down Minnesota. Flair is sure to clarify he was born here, but he left as soon as he could.
I used to be from here, he says.
Yes. So this offends a local legend. And out to defend the honor of Gopher Country comes Kurt Hennig. And Kurt Hennig and Ric Flair going back and forth are awesome.
It was almost as good as Flair and Terry Funk.
It was,
Except,
actually.
believe it or not, and this is hard to believe, but it's true, Kurt Hennig was crazier than Terry Funk.
He actually was.
Because he vowed... I hope you can do the finishers report later, Vinny. He vowed that if he could not beat Ric Flair tonight, he would strip buck-ass naked and streak down the streets of Minneapolis next Monday night.
That's what he said.
That's not that too out of character. I mean, Prince is from there. Go ahead.
Kurt Hennig is not Prince.
What are you talking about?
Well, they wore those,
This
chaps.
is very out of character for Kurt Hennig to run naked down the street.
There's lots of people from Minnesota who are not Prince.
No.
Almost all of them.
I don't believe it.
It's really just the one guy.
I was going to say almost all of them. Who's the other one? Prince Iakea?
No.
He's not from Minneapolis.
Mike Tenay interviews Booker. So they did a tag match on Thunder with Booker and Kidman, and Tori got knocked off the apron, and Kidman was tending to her, which left Booker high and dry, and he got beat. So Booker's upset that Kidman left him hanging because he was messing with his hoochie.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to fight tonight. Kidman and Tori are walking, bitching about how their camera got stolen again.
It's been a week, dude. Get a new camera.
I guess.
What, he found it last week? It got stolen again?
That's what
Is
they
that
said.
the story?
Yes. They said, I can't believe it got stolen again.
What a stupid storyline. Why not just the thief still has it?
I like that it got stolen and they just left it randomly out again, thinking nothing would happen.
Tony Schiavone is on the phone at the announce desk. He says his inside sources have told him Sting is going to be there. Okerlund is interviewing Jeff Jarrett.
Okay. May I?
Yes.
Because I recapped it earlier.
Sure.
So earlier, I'll even go back and recap, like we're doing a recap on this show. He doesn't care that Tank Abbott is getting a championship match. He has a title shot at Uncensored, is signed, sealed, and delivered. So, an hour later, Gene Okerlund goes back to Jeff Jarrett. Now he's outraged that Tank Abbott is getting a championship match. Outraged! And he's outraged that tonight he must be facing Vampiro with the U.S. title on the line. And then, after all that outrage, he says, I don't care. I will beat Vampiro tonight and win the title at the pay-per-view. This is a bad professional wrestling television show.
It is. I do want to add, though, Jarrett is accompanied by a bunch of good-looking women.
Sure.
And Gene, at the start of this promo, addresses them and says, ladies, it's good to see you back in your feet.
Yeah.
That was funny.
It was.
Booker versus Kidman. So Booker has lost the goofy Leave It to Beaver music. He has...
Maybe.
Well, no, they were talking about it.
Okay.
They traded it in, yeah.
All right.
So I don't know what music you used then. They have some generic network song now. Heavy metal, Mark Madden called it. So there were lots of angle slams on the show, which amused me. Booker did one here. I think Iakea did one later. So Tori gets in the apron. Then the Harrises attack both guys for the DQ. Then Tori gets knocked off the apron, sells her ankle. This sucked.
Why, when these women know they're going to take a bump off the apron, they wear the highest heels possible so they can turn an ankle?
She fake hurt her ankle, dude.
I understand that, Brian.
Okay, well then that's why she wore the high heels. She had to fake roll her ankle.
But she could have really rolled her ankle in the
she
high
didn't.
heels.
She's talented.
Is that so?
I don't know. They can figure it out.
So Harlem Heat laugh at Booker.
Oh. Gene is with the new Harlem Heat, okay?
What was that?
They're laughing, and Stevie explains, this is what happens when you don't have anybody watching your back. So now what happens next is a tag team comment.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Stevie is supposed to start, and Big T is supposed to end, okay?
Right.
This is not hard, all right? Stevie says, it's just like our mama said. A hard head. Dead silence. For seemingly like a minute. I'm like, did he forget what his mama said? And then, finally, Big T just screams, makes for a soft ass. I went, what? What did your mama say?
I've never heard my mama say that.
A hard head makes a soft ass.
Makes for a soft ass.
Did you say four?
I believe so.
It's Big T, so you can never be sure.
Well, he may. I'm not sure what he said. That's what I got out of it.
That's pretty much what he said.
And then if I was not confused enough, Jay Biggs made some joke about graffiti and they all laughed.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening.
I laughed a lot.
Lash LaRoux predicted that Sid would win in the main event. And Lash on this show and Jim Ross on Raw on the same night both made that dog'll hunt references. The clips from the Arnold Schwarzenegger bodybuilding show.
This guy.
Some guy with what they claimed were 28-inch biceps.
They were.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were fake.
No.
Is this the injection stuff?
The best part of this is there's this guy with these enormous fake arms.
Popeye never had arms this big.
Ridiculous, okay? He's showing them off to Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes.
Arnold is looking at this guy and, like, he's trying to be nice.
Yes.
But you just know what's going on in his head.
Yeah.
This guy's proportions are preposterous.
He has skinny legs, flat ass, no chest, Popeye arms. Yes, and Arnold's just trying to stifle a laugh the whole time.
And they cut back to the announcers, and Mark Madden says, and I quote, "That can't be for real." No shit. I'm not sure that he knew it wasn't for real. Otherwise, why would you say that? It's ridiculous.
Gene interviews Norman Smiley. Norman says what Dustin Rhodes did to Terry Funk was a crime. Tonight, Norman won't be screaming. It'll be screaming Dustin Rhodes.
This was a good promo.
Sure.
Made me sad what they did with it later.
Brian Knobbs versus 3 Count.
Ugh.
3 Count challenges Knobbs to a handicap match for the hardcore title. He accepts.
3-on-1.
At this point, 40 minutes into the show, they put up a Night of Championships graphic.
Yeah.
Why did you wait till the show was a third over to do that? So he beats them up for a while with weapons.
They all hit each other in the head with shit.
Yeah.
Chairs, garbage can lids. Just fucking sucks. Then they pin Knobbs.
Yeah.
And all I could think was, these poor bastards.
Now they had to feud with him.
Now they have to go out and get hit in the head with shit every single week till he loses his title. This was terrible.
Vampiro is hanging out in some green light somewhere. He's brooding. Maybe it's time to let somebody else taste the pain, he says. He's talking about Jarrett not being ready, and they cut away mid-sentence to show Dustin Rhodes walking. Had a bunch of dudes outside chanting for Sid. I think Scott D'Amore was in there. Gene is preparing to interview Brian Knobbs and Fit Finley. And he says... He makes a statement. It's not even a question. But something in the bag. Can't believe what I've just seen. And Knobbs interrupts him to say, and I quote, "Ah, ba-da-ba!" And Gene looks at him. And then just powers through. So Knobbs blames himself for this loss, for accepting the stupid challenge, let his ego get in the way. He wants a rematch. I've just totally lost place of where we are in the show.
He wants a rematch. Finley says, we'll cross that bridge later.
Yeah.
We're going to do a 6-man Thursday.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Gene says there's only 2 of you and 3 of them. Fit says, no, there are 3 of us.
It's time to bring out the dog.
Knobbs says we're bringing out the dog. The dog.
Norman Smiley versus Dustin Rhodes. So Dustin, of course, the son of Dusty Rhodes, who we watched the 1980 shows where he was the Midnight Rider. Dustin comes out here to a music that's like an evil version of the Midnight Rider song. It was really cool. Norman is out there for a pro wrestling match in big, giant football shoulder pads. At no point in the show does Dustin say anything, or the referee, or the announcers.
That's his gimmick. He's been wearing the shoulder pads for months.
But like in hardcore matches. This is just a wrestling match. They do him no good. Dustin beats him up forever, hits a top rope lariat, and wins.
Sad.
And this is the kind of show that when a guy who has a pay-per-view match, is Dustin Rhodes and Funk at the pay-per-view. When a guy who has a pay-per-view match coming up hits a move and pins a guy who is not on the pay-per-view, it's bizarre. It's just bizarre.
What was Mark Madden calling him? I forgot to write it down. It was something 2000.
American Dream 2000.
Why is that bizarre, by the way? Someone on the pay-per-view pinned someone not
because
on the
it's
pay-per-view?
WCW in 2000.
Oh, because they did something right?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Jeff Jarrett goes for a walk. Vampiro is skulking backstage. Nick Patrick predicts Tank Abbott will win.
I hope he's not the fucking ref. What are they asking the referees for? What a stupid company. Now let me talk about this next match, because it was like, it wasn't bad, but Nick Patrick is the worst referee I've ever seen in my lifetime, okay? We need a Hall of Awful. The Nick Patrick Memorial Hall of Awful.
We actually do.
Put Nick Patrick in. So Jarrett comes out, he sends all the women to the back, because of course he's a heel, he wants to win on his own.
We could name that one after Ed.
Or he just didn't want them around because Vamp is out there. So Nick Patrick is the ref, and this match is just a fucking mess. So Vampiro hits a Uranage. Nick Patrick counts 1, 2. Jeff kicks out. He counts 3.
Yeah.
So The Harrises then hit the ring right in front of Nick Patrick. He's looking right at him.
Yeah.
Not a disqualification.
No.
Sid runs down, and he runs wild on the Harrises.
My God, did he run
How
wild.
awesome worthy this was.
This is amazing.
You've never seen a clubbering forearm. Like the running, lunging clubbering forearms. Remember when Kane did this to Shane?
Yes.
He did it one time. Okay? Sid did this 10 times here. I don't know how I haven't remembered this. Jeff hits Vamp with the belt. Referee counts Nick Patrick. 1, 2, stops. Timekeeper rings the bell. What is happening?
I don't know.
Then Jeff hits a stroke and wins. They can't do anything right.
Yeah, I don't know why this needed 17 different run-ins and finishes, and I don't know. I do like the line where they said, Jarrett is now being fined $10,000 every time he breaks a guitar over somebody's head. And man says, well, he obviously makes a great living, a lot of money.
It's funny, too, because how over Vampiro was. The crowd was, like, totally behind him.
Well,
They haven't been doing anything to push the guy.
Hasn't been a new top guy in WCW since Goldberg.
True.
Who's at this point his rise was 2 years ago.
Ooh, it's somebody new. Yay.
Yeah, anyone. Mama Luke's pay somebody $20 to make a delivery to the Harris brothers. Fans are outside chanting for Tank. All right, so we go back to this Nitro party. Now, 3 Count's gimmick is that they're dorks. Mm-hmm. And they think they're cool when they dance, but no one else thinks they're cool. Apparently no one who produced this Nitro party got that word, because now 3 Count's like actually cool. And we are told when they dance, the chicks go with them.
Oh, to be fair, it's Ricky Rackman telling this. This could be total bullshit.
That's true.
So Disco questions who Ricky is and why he's there.
It's fair.
Excellent question, Disco.
I want Disco.
I don't know either.
So Disco goes to teach 3 Count how to dance.
Where was this show from? I wrote it down.
Minnesota.
And these were allegedly in Ohio?
The party's at Ohio State. And Disco,
They're going around the country on the way to spring break, Craig.
They just wrestled.
Pay attention to Rackman.
They just wrestled.
Pre-taped.
Yes. But they didn't tell. Obviously, it's a pre-tape, Brian. But they implied it was live, even though
Yes.
Disco was on the show.
Well, they lied.
And 3 Count was on the show.
Pay attention, Brian.
Professional wrestling.
Fit Finley beats up Vampiro for no reason I can tell. In the greatest moment of David Flair's career.
Yes.
Even better than the last time he danced with the Nitro Girls. David Flair comes out to dance with the Nitro Girls. It's brilliant. I take back everything and anything negative I ever said about David Flair.
Wow.
It's awesome. So, problem with this is David Flair already has a girl. It's Daphne. So the Nitro Girls leave. David Flair's alone in the ring. He turns around, and there's Daphne, and she's pissed off. And as Madden says, Daphne has David Flair's crowbar. Figuratively and literally. Mm-hmm. I laughed.
You know, David was cutting a rug, and then he jumped high in the air and took a flat back bump.
And started humping the air.
It's Rick's kid.
Yes. Yeah, it turns out he is after all. So he is, in fact, Rick's kid, because after blatantly hitting on like a dozen other women in front of his girlfriend, he sweet-talked his way back into her heart.
That a kid.
This leads to the artist formerly known as Prince Iaukea versus David Flair.
You know, they mentioned Crowbar's on commentary.
He sure is.
They reminded us that he was found pumping gas at a service station in a vignette I had totally forgotten about that apparently aired on Thunder. This man...
He's on the show?
This man... No, it wasn't on the show for sure.
Okay.
He was pumping
yes,
gas, and Daphne and David discovered him, and now he is a professional wrestler.
That's how easy it is, kids.
Weird.
So, Crowbar on commentary is awesome.
He's been like this since day one. You just noticed.
No, I didn't just notice, but I did. Like, you know, he's insightful. He knows his shit. He has great delivery. He works well with the other guys. He's setting them up with things to say and questions to answer. He's phenomenal. And at one point here, Tony says, "You know, he's pretty good." And Mark says, "Yeah, I'm scared for my job." Why is Crowbar not calling matches on Raw in 2019?
Have you watched Raw in 2019?
No, because it's not Crowbar.
After 3 weeks, he'd be horrible.
That's probably true. So, Daphne does a screaming gimmick, by which I mean she screams the entire match. It got old immediately. It was annoying when Melina screamed with Eminem, but at least she'd do it like twice, maybe. Daphne's just screaming her head off the whole time.
Oh, God, I remember that.
So,
bane of my existence.
So, Crowbar, Prince Iaukea goes off the top rope. Crowbar manages to grab his head as he jumps This is not the finish. The women are having a horrible fight, and then Prince wins the diving DDT. Again, 17 things have to be going on all the time.
I did love the fight. Daphne's got a fight with Paisley.
Yes.
So she mounts her and chokes her by the neck. Mm-hmm. It's brutal.
I believe Daphne would be crazy enough to do that. Cut backstage where there's these shards of a broken guitar and Sid has been laid out.
Announcers put 2 and 2 together. There's broken guitar everywhere. I think it might be Jeff Jarrett.
I was terrified here they're going to take away my main event from me. Don't you dare take away my Sid versus Tank main event. The Harrises get their delivery.
What the crap is this? Says one of the Harris twins. Those exact words. What the crap is this?
Well, it was a fish.
Not hell.
Crap.
What the crap?
What the crap is this? It
Horrible.
Was a dead fish. They're angry for like a second, and then Jarrett says, "Don't worry about it. You'll get your match with them in uncensored." And the Harrises say, "This is a quote. Good point." And they all leave. Way to go, Mama Luke's.
So Gene shows up with an update. Says the doctors don't want Sid doing any strenuous activity.
Strenuous physical activity.
And he notes, a world championship title defense against Tank Abbott might be construed as strenuous activity.
Maybe.
Sid shows up. He says, when I quote, "It's simple math. First, it's Jeff Jarrett. Then, it's Tank Abbott."
Close. It's
I thought I was
math.
bad at math. That ain't math. That's counting.
No.
To 2. Tank
I like
Abbott,
what he
I'll
said.
See you in hell.
I like when he says, "What you make of this is this, Gene." He's woozy. He's selling a concussion, but he promises to see Jarrett at uncensored. He'll see Tank Abbott in hell.
He was concussed. He's just a brilliant actor, Brian.
Get out of here. Shat in the ring.
Excuse me?
Clips of him dancing with James Brown. Maestro interferes. Maestro is forced to listen to bad music on a boombox. I don't even remember the stipulation from a week ago. That's how stupid this is. The fucking music plays. He gets mad. He hits Shat with the boombox and then wins. This show I wrote is wretched.
This show.
Am I missing anything about this shit?
No, you got it. I didn't know when this boombox thing started. Part of me. There's basically 2 theories. One is that the cat won a bet, and thus the Maestro has to have this music playing.
Dude, there was something that happened on last week's show. We reviewed it.
Well, all that was the cat said, "I have new music for you," and he played terrible music. And the Maestro freaked out.
The bet was that the Shat couldn't get James Brown.
Yes, and so he did. So now Shat gets to choose bad music for the Maestro, which apparently must be played on a boombox.
Yeah, but they never said
Throughout
anything about
the
that
match.
before. This part's new.
Well, yeah, the show's bad.
Okay. Kurt Hennig's walking backstage. Ric Flair's walking backstage. Lex Luger's preparing for his match, but he and Liz, they can't find the baseball bat. Billy Kidman says, "There's one thing I've learned in a fight. It's that you can never underestimate the small man."
Small Tank Abbott.
So I'm picking Tank Abbott. I understand. He's probably smaller than Sid.
Yeah,
this is still
probably.
poor reasoning. Ric Flair versus Kurt Hennig. Could you have done anything to make Hennig versus Flair, with the pride of Minnesota at stake, be any worse?
Well, kind of. I mean, it was the best thing on the show until the finish. They had a very, very fun Ric Flair-Kurt Hennig match, and then that asshole Nick Patrick took a bump, and Luger hit the ring, stomped on Hennig, then he left, and Hennig just grabs a chair after that beating. Patrick won't allow him to use the chair. Patrick allows anything. So Flair kicks him in the balls in front of Patrick. Mm-hmm. Patrick counts the pin. Patrick, everyone, is not a heel referee. He's supposed to be an unbiased referee. He's awful. And then Flair whips Hennig, and he is crazier than ever.
So I assume next week will be a vignette where Kurt Hennig goes streaking butt naked down the street.
I'm waiting for it.
Ming! The Monster Ming!
Who can speak English, by the way.
That's a new one.
Prediction for the main event. He talks a little bit about both guys, and here is his prediction. "I like to see this match. I like to sit back and watch them kick the hell out of each other."
Yep. No prediction.
That's his prediction.
Yeah.
His prediction is he will enjoy it.
Same as yours.
Pretty much. At this point, my notes simply read, more clips from this shit party.
It's fair.
Lex Luger versus Buff Bagwell.
As noted, Buff is super over as a babyface. Luger's hated.
The women still love him.
Yep.
I like that it's Lex Luger, the total package. For one very clever fan, made a sign that reads, Lex, no package, loser.
I like it.
Yeah. So Buff hits the...
this was not as good as Flair Hennig.
No.
Yeah. Buff hits the Vader bomb, makes a cover, but Liz put Lex's foot on the ropes. This leads to Flair attacking Buff. Flair and a weight belt in the ring. Liz is about to slide a chair into the ring. None of this is a DQ. But then Flair chop blocks Buff, and this is a DQ. So, Sting comes down. Now, Sting wants to surprise Lex. Mm-hmm. They couldn't just have Buff get beaten in the corner on the side opposite the entranceway, so Luger would have his back to Sting. No, Sting has to come down to the ringside. He walks down the aisle, and then when he gets to ringside, he has to hide, like Waldo. He has to dip down below the ring apron and hide.
Waldo? I know where's Waldo, but that's what you got out of this? You looked at him and thought, it's Waldo?
He's hiding. Clearly he thought he was hard to see. So eventually Lex turns his back. Sting gets up on the apron, and Sting hid. Why did Sting hide? Sting hid so he could pull out the bat that I guess Lex was looking for earlier, and reach...
That would be the bat.
And reach inside and go to Lex and go, bunk! And Lex sells this by going, what the... And he turns around at Sting, and now he's scared.
Yeah, it was a guy with a bat that just bonked him in the head. Some idiot's ringing the bell incessantly this entire time, I might add. It must have been Daphne.
So eventually he beats Lex up with a bat, and Lex leaves, and sucked. It sucked.
Oh, Sid.
Sid is my hero, Sid. Sid is storming backstage. He ranting to nobody but himself. Screaming at the top of his lungs. This is my best translation.
Oh, I wrote it down.
Okay.
He screamed, "Come hell or high water, I will get you, Tank Abbott." And he starts screaming something else, and they just cut away.
He gets as far as
the world champion.
And next to follow will be Jeff. And they cut away to show Tank Abbott walking.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't get the hell or high water. I just got now high water.
I rewound it a couple times.
Okay.
I had to hear it.
I will get you, Tank Abbott, and next to follow will be Jeff.
Come hell or high water. Because he's hurt, you know. But come hell or high water, he's going to get Tank Abbott. Mm-hmm.
The last bit from this lame Nitro party. And then...
God, Vinny. You're such a geek.
Tank Abbott versus Sid Vicious for the World Heavyweight Championship on the main event of Nitro. The undefeated Tank Abbott and the reigning champion Sid. Mark Madden took the words right out of my mouth. I cannot believe this match is taking place. Tank gets a motorcycle for his entrance. He never has before, but this is a special night. He's challenging for the world title. Sid comes out, all the pyros going off. He's doing knuckle bumps with the fans. Everyone's going crazy. So they get in the ring, and Tank jumps him at the bell. Tank Abbott tries to win with a guillotine. He's got him in this damn guillotine. Sid's down on the ropes, clutching the ropes, which is why it's not a finish. But for like a minute, there's just this guillotine.
Well, the first thing Tank did was go to work on the bad ribs.
Bad ribs.
And then when Sid doubled over, he grabbed his head. Psychology.
Yes. So Tank hits a body shot that sends Sid flying over the top rope out of the ring. Gets back in there. Tank's carrying Sid around, hits a freak accident. He's standing on Sid's back and pulling up on his hair. Here, I believe they said, Tank won a lot of Ultimate Fight matches with that choke. Now, I'm no UFC expert. Did Tank Abbott ever attempt a chokehold in a UFC fight?
I believe so.
All right. So, eventually, who said it would be the experience? Was it Lash? No, it was Bam Bam. The experience would do Tank in. Bam Bam's a wise man. Mm-hmm. Tank is totally in control. Sid came into this match less than 100%. Tank jumped him at the bell, didn't give him a chance to get going, cut off his oxygen, took away his air. He's got this man weak. He's got him down. He's got him finished. But then he makes a mistake and he gets arrogant. And he turns his back. He turns his back to celebrate with the crowd and taunt them. And this gives the mighty champion Sid a chance to recover. Sid jumps to his feet. Sid locks on a sleeper. Sid's eyes are bugging out of his head to the back door of the building. He gets him in the sleeper, and they stumble to the ground, and Sid locks on a crossface. A hold that is not used in UFC, so Tank would not know a counter. And Tank fights and fights, and Tank does not just tap out. Tank hammer fists out, and Sid wins. This was awesome. This is a tremendous Pro Wrestling World Championship match. I loved it. I loved every second of this.
I've never heard
I'll tell
you
the
more
rest of you what
passionate.
really happened here. Tank beat him up for a long time.
Sure.
Sid put him in a sleeper into a crossface,
Yeah.
which he lost his grip on at one point.
Yes.
Tank screamed never and then tapped.
Yeah.
And that's the end of Tank Abbott, Vinny. I hope you're happy.
No, I want Tank every week.
Are you kidding me? Just tapped out in the middle of the ring to Sid, for crying out loud. His career's over now. He's going to be dancing with 3 count next week.
I see.
He fucked it all
I'm okay
up with
with
this
that,
guy.
actually.
Match was bizarre. And then, you didn't even notice this, Tank just leaps to his feet and storms off.
Well, just what? How many UFC fights you see where a guy taps out and gets up?
So here's some of Tank Abbott's big wins in UFC, Vinny. Mm-hmm. He did win via KO and TKO twice. His next win over Steve Jenham was a neck crank.
Ah.
His next win after that was a forearm choke,
Wow.
which may have been what he did to Sid. And then he has various wins and losses, including this one here to Maurice Smith. Submission, in parentheses, exhaustion.
That sounds like Tank.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the main event of this show.
You can tell.
I need to go back and watch this fight he had with Hidehiko Yoshida, Pride Final Conflict 2005. The finish is listed here as submission, single wing choke.
What was that?
Tank has a wing? The hell is a single wing choke? That's weird.
A one-wing angel?
Anyway,
Which would be a hell of a finish to a Tank Abbott fight.
Brian,
so yes,
you finish your statement. I was going to remind you about Vinny's music.
I'm going to play Vinny's music.
I understand
Craig.
that now.
I know what I'm doing here.
Sometimes.
Give me a damn break. Vinny, you ready?
Hang on. Okay, now. The finishes on this show were pin after all 4 wrestlers and the ref and the manager and the announcers were distracted. Double DQ when the Harrises kill everyone. 3 men pinning 1 in a hardcore match. Clean pin. Pin after interference and weapon shots were not the finish, but the stroke was. Pin despite interference and tons of distraction. Pin after boombox shot. Pin after interference and a low blow. DQ due to interference. And then clean submission by the world champion over an undefeated challenger.
How long was that show? Jesus.
Pretty goddamn long.
How many matches were there?
And I 2 clean finishes.
35 full seconds to go over all those matches. Wow. Mm-hmm. I liked it much better than Raw.
I did too.
Yeah. But man, what a bunch of bad shows this week.
Yeah.
Hopefully it turns around next week, at least on one half of the bracket.